Chapter 361, Inaudible Words 1. TL Note: this is the first chapter that uses female terms when referring to Jang Haeyoung. Perhaps it is because it is from Jang Haeyoung's perspective. Jang Haeyoung's gender is still ambiguous to me, but I will be using female terms for her here. Jang Haeyoung moved through the forest of the small island and was reminded of Kim Dokja's words. Are the hidden card of this scenario. Before the scenario started, Kim Dokja had called Jang Haeyoung separately. Jang Haeyoung suddenly heard those words and was embarrassed. He hasn't been interested in me so far. Jang Haeyoung was sad. No matter how much time he spent with the other party members, Kim Dokja neglected Jang Haeyoung. 3 years after the end of the Revolutionary Game or the Demon King selection, Jang Haeyoung had long felt alienated. It felt like she had been excluded from all the main scenarios. Didn't you ask me to join Kim Dokja's company? This was the most disturbing thing. She wanted to ask, why didn't Kim Dokja invite her to join the nebula? Perhaps she was forgotten. The unidentified wall says, don't trust Kim Dokja too much. Shut up. The unidentified wall says, he is just using you. Maybe this really was the case. Kim Dokja was the most practical person Jang Haeyoung knew. Nevertheless, Jang Haeyoung replied, Kim Dokja isn't such a person. Why do you hate Kim Dokja? The unidentified wall asks, do you want to be friends with him? It would be good if we were friendly. We haven't talked much lately. The unidentified wall asks, why do you like him? I like who I like. Jang Haeyoung replied bluntly and bit her lips. My favorite is the Demon King of Salvation. The unidentified wall is looking at you. That's him. It is different. In any case, I just want to get along with him. The unidentified wall is sighing, even if he kills you one day. Why are you saying such ominous things? The unidentified wall had never liked Kim Dokja. It was from the first time it met Kim Dokja all the way to the present. Don't get in my way. Last time I didn't get a giant story because of you. The giant story that told of the victory in Gigantomachia, torch that swallowed the myth. Jang Haeyoung had watched through the screen and was overwhelmed, moved and finally sad. She thought she should have been there. She should have hurled herself into that blazing flame. She should have been part of the giant story, yet she couldn't. The unidentified wall says, trusting people will only make you disappointed. You have suffered enough in your last life. She had no confidence. Would the torch have gone out if she jumped in? What if the giant story was ruined with her involvement? What if Kim Dokja didn't want her involvement? Jang Haeyoung was different from the other party members. She was a resident of the demon world and came to Earth. She wasn't a companion who fought with Kim Dokja since the first scenario. Thus, she couldn't say that she wanted to go together with him. There was an insurmountable wall between them. It was a wall that couldn't be reached no matter how she tried. Jang Haeyoung didn't have a history to share with them. This way, just a bit more. He won SSI, please give me Gilyoung, I'll take him. It's okay, I still have enough stamina left. Voices were heard in the distant bushes. Jang Haeyoung reflexively hid herself behind a tree. A wounded man and woman were running while carrying a child on each of their backs. They were people Jang Haeyoung knew. Jung Hee-won and Lee Hyun-sung. The two of them were being chased by monsters. They were followed by half a dozen orcs and 2 trolls. Based on the direction, they seemed to be moving across the field the source of the smoke. It was the wrong choice. The direction they were heading in had more fearsome monsters than orcs and trolls. If this continued, they would be wiped out. Jang Haeyoung reflexively clenched her fists and got up. To be exact, she tried to get up. The unidentified wall says, don't save them. What nonsense is this? The unidentified wall says, if they die here, you can be Kim Dokja's only friend. At almost the same time, the running Jung Hee-won tripped over a stone and fell. Jung Hee-won and Lee Gilyoung fell onto the ground. The orc clothes behind them raised a glaive. It was too late to evade. Jung Hee-won shouted, Gilyoung, run. Jang Haeyoung looked at the falling glaive and thought, maybe the unidentified wall was right. If these people died here. Thank you. The conversation she had with Kim Dokja before coming here flashed in her mind. What? The words you said at that time. Kim Dokja muttered with his usual distant face. Said it, even if the other side of the wall can't hear it, still, leave something on the wall. Jang Haeyoung had wondered, did she say that when? Was she drunk? Kim Dokja continued. Thus I'm doing it. As you said, one day somebody might look at the traces on the wall. Jang Haeyoung could see Young Hee-won closing her eyes as the glaive fell. Lee Hyun-sung was shouting something while Young Hee-won covered Lee Gil-young. By the time she came to her senses, Jang Haeyoung was already running. Your new attribute is preparing to bloom. Her fist stretched out. The orc's glaive broke like straw before her transcendent fist. Young Hee-won stared up at her with wide eyes. Jang Haeyoung looked down at this person and thought, fool. Kim Dokja wouldn't recognize their feelings. The demon king of salvation was a demon king, not a god. He would have no interest in what they did. However, just because it couldn't be communicated didn't mean their hearts weren't there. Jang Haeyoung stood as if guarding the party members and said, leave it to me from now on. It wasn't too late to make history from now on. She still had a lot of time. I breathed out and opened my eyes. Exclusive skill. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 3 has been turned off. Exiting the third-person viewpoint. Fortunately, Jang Haeyoung met with some of our companions. I was nervous that she would be delayed, but luckily, it went according to plan. They met with Jang Haeyoung and now they would be safe. I raised my stiff body and reconfirmed the message in front of me. You have earned the right to use the skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint as a reward for clearing the hidden scenario. It wasn't possible to use skills on Reincarnation Island. The story was different after completing the hidden scenario survival game. The exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, is fixed at the lowest level. A system error has occurred. There is no level concept for this skill. This skill isn't affected by the first-generation probability. At first, I thought it would be better to get the license for Bookmark. Then I thought about it, and Bookmark was a skill that borrowed other people's skills. In other words, if I got a license for Bookmark but no additional license for the other person's skill, Bookmark would be useless. It was an island with too many constraints, but it couldn't be helped. The thing I needed to go on this island was more important than skills. I heard Lee Jihai's voice in the distance. Great master. It was already the second day. Lee Jihai was chasing one invincible fist Yu Ha-sung around. Great master, please tell me that story. It was the same with Yu Ha-sung gave a cow food. Just one phrase, I can really learn well. Lee Jihai annoyed Yu Ha-sung even when doing his laundry or cutting firewood. How did you do that yesterday? You stretched out your fist and his head exploded. Of course, Yu Ha-sung didn't say anything. I thought it wouldn't be easy to learn story control. It took a long time for Kyejios and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint to learn this technique. Story control. It was the name of a pure technique, not a skill or stigma. There were many explanations for it in ways of survival, but I didn't know it precisely because there were many voices. Thus, I was actually a bit worried. The giant story torch that swallowed the myth is growling. I had to do something about this brat soon. It was this evening that Yu Ha-sung first became irritated. Stop chasing me. In addition, why I am your great master. Well, you are the master of my master's teacher. I smiled as I heard Lee Jihai's words. It was true. Lee Jihai's master was Yu Jonghyuk. Yu Jonghyuk's master was the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint's master was one invincible fist Yu Ha-sung. Yu Ha-sung stared at Lee Jihai and sighed. It isn't something you can learn. Those like you who are accustomed to the system won't see any effect, even if you train for 100 days. You taught great master. They were transcendents without any sponsors. They are different from you. It was a sober refusal. You never know. I'll do exactly as you tell me. Your position is wrong from the beginning. This isn't something you can learn, just be doing as I say. Have you felt nothing while following me for 2 days? Yu Zhongyuk's great master, they even had the same surname, gave an unlucky smile. In fact, I knew. Yu Hasung was testing us the whole time. Haven't you heard anything here? Li Jihai and I looked at the surrounding scenery at the same time. The man cleaning up the pig's poop stared at me, like he was asking what I was looking at. The story, master of cleaning defecation, is determined to live happily today. The woman harvesting the crops was drinking rice wine while humming a song. The story, master of labor, is humming while helping its master's work. The old man carrying the axe sighed and sat down on the ground. The story, millennium woodcutter, is saying that young people these days don't know how to respect adults. There were no great stories. They were stories made by cleaning up animal poop, singing while working, or cutting wood. These stories were different from other stories that I knew. There was a strange harmony in the stories. They felt different from the stories seeking power or the stories that tried to dominate their master. An ensemble of one story and one being created over many years. Yu Hasung said, "It takes 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years to obtain only one sentence. Those are real stories." Real stories. It was an interesting expression. Don't you have stories? Train well in that method. It is useless to learn other stories now. But I can't become as strong as you. That depends on what you do. The important thing is to look at the story correctly. Look at it correctly. A story that is too big makes it impossible to know the direction of the story. I had heard such cryptic words before. Was it from Laikyan when learning Way of the Wind? I had this thought and suddenly started to worry. Could I learn story control when I couldn't even learn Way of the Wind? I was troubled when hearing people talk about talent. Yu Hasung sighed and opened his mouth again. "Phew, these damn kids, I'll tell you just once." At these words, Li Jihai sat in front of him like a demure student. I also approached and listened to his story. "What do you think is a story?" Li Jihai rolled her eyes and answered, "A tale." "Pitiful. Don't just scold me, let me know. I have to explain from the basics." Yu Hasung clicked his tongue and raised his left hand. "What do you call this?" "Left hand." Yu Hasung raised his opposite hand. "Then what about this?" "Right hand." "Then what about when they are joined together?" Li Jihai pondered for a moment before answering, "Two hands." Then the story replied on behalf of Yu Hasung. The story, ambidextrous boxer, is having fun. Yes, this leads to the words two hands. Many people call it a relationship. They perceive it as a similar form. Li Jihai had a blank expression. It was an expression that showed she didn't understand. Yu Hasung spoke like he knew. "If so, what would you call this?" Yu Hasung grabbed the twig on the ground with his left hand and asked, "One is the left hand and one is a twig. What would you call them if they are tied together?" A left hand holding a twig, or left hand and twig." I felt a cool sensation. "It isn't easy, do you know why?" Li Jihai shook her head. Yu Hasung said, "There is no correct relationship between the two. Whether it is left hand and twig or left hand holding a twig, it isn't something that falls naturally. It is awkward." Yu Hasung held the twig like a dart and threw it at a tree far away. The twig flew quickly and stuck into a tree. It looked natural, like it was originally part of the tree. It is the story that narrows that awkward distance. It connects the most distant things in the world. If you want to control the story, you have to make sure to understand the story. It was a seemingly confusing explanation. Li Jihai stared at the twig on the tree blankly. I carefully picked up a stone that was rolling on the ground. The power to connect the most distant things in the world, it was difficult. Yu Hasung saw my actions and clicked his tongue. "Stupid guy. I just gave an example. A relationship can't be made and a story generated by holding something. It takes a long time to narrow the distance between the materials and yourself." The next moment, something strange happened. The full probability of the first generation is responding to your actions. The story material has an affinity for you. The stone in the hand looked up at me in a pleasant manner. The story, the stone and I, has begun. Yu Hasung stared at me with a dumbfounded expression and his lips trembled. You, what the hell are you? Chapter 362, Inaudible Words 2. The stone in my hand trembled like it was alive. You have acquired a new story. The story the stone and I wants to continue. It was a first for me. I just touched the stone and a story occurred. There were all sorts of complicated hypotheses in my head, but I didn't have an answer. The probability of the first generation is around you. Currently, the fourth wall is in a very thin state. The only doubts were these two system messages. Yu Hasung stared at me with suspicious eyes. I see, you are a reincarnator, is that right? T seemed he had the wrong hypothesis about me. Were you stoned to death in your previous life? That's why the stone is. No. Oh, you're a stonehead, that's why the stone. I picked up a branch thrown by Yu Hasung. The material of the story is sensitive to you. The story Kim Dokja likes a branch has begun. I glanced towards the dazed Yu Hasung who had a gaping mouth. I'm afraid that my head isn't that bad. By my side, Li Jihai glared at me. Yu Hasung shouted with wide eyes. Hold this. I accepted the flower that Yu Hasung gave me. The story material has an affinity for you. The story Kim Dokja with a flower has begun. Yu Hasung continued to give me things, and I accepted all of them. The story material has an affinity for you. The story material has an affinity for you. My surroundings were filled with singing stones and flowers. After much agonizing, Yu Hasung made a decision. Grab me. Where do you mean? Here, grab me here. Yu Hasung's eyes were blazing. I understood his anger. The real stories that took 10, 100 or even 1,000 years to build up were easily obtained by me. He was bound to feel like this. If you wish, please excuse me. I sighed and placed a hand on Yu Hasung's shoulder. Why was this small shoulder so hard? Yu Hasung said, there is no change. Is it limited to inanimate objects, HRMM? The character Yu Hasung shows a small liking towards you. The shocked Yu Hasung withdrew from my hand. What is this? The next second, I heard a message in my ears. The story person who is loved by all has been acquired. It was the other residents of the village who showed interest in me, while Yu Hasung was in shock. It has been a long time since I've seen this crazy talent. This is a rare friend. Did you come from the outside? Are you interested in the cattle feed? I accepted the cattle feed that the woman gave me in a dazed mood. Human Kim Dokja. This was the first time I received such attention in my almost 30 years of living. I was talented. Dokja Sesai is definitely talented. You've been reading this novel for over 10 years. Perhaps her librarian's work had been busy lately, because Yu Sanga sounded tired. Is it related to reading the novel? I can't think of anything else but that. This has never happened in the meantime. Come to think of it, that wasn't true. There were some characters who had good feelings towards me as soon as they saw me. Maybe it is because the wall is thinner. I heard Yu Sanga's words and thought it was possible. I didn't know the exact reason, but it was possible the failure of the fourth wall had closed the distance between the world and me. Then how far did this power apply? Looking back, Li Jihai seemed to have her own sense of pride as she muttered to herself while holding a branch in her hand. I poked her with my finger. Eek, the startled Li Jihai screamed. Ajasi, are you crazy? The finger that touched Pupa. It didn't work, now let's see. I poked the shoulder of Chiak Yungyong sitting next to me. Is this a challenge? That's not it. This didn't work either. Then what were the principles behind it? No matter how I thought about it, I couldn't figure out how my talent worked. It is really fucking talent. I can't explain it any other way. The one who spoke with Yu Hasung, who had been preoccupied with his thoughts for a long time. Ferocious anger was seething on his face. Yu Hasung approached me with a child's stride. You might not know, but I hate strange fates the most. In particular, I hate those like you who don't try hard and easily obtain something. One invincible fist Yu Hasung was such a person. He liked people with a persistent spirit and cared for those who strove to overcome their insurmountable talent. In Yu Hasung's eyes, a man like me was a criminal who would destroy the first generation with talent. For the first time today, I am going to break my belief. Huh. I will teach you story control. I didn't know why Yu Hasung changed his mind. The only certainty was that he discovered some possibilities from me. As if to leave a lifelong disciple, Yu Hasung troubled me day and night. Phenomena and truth aren't the same. Using a story properly means understanding its language. Solid ground is needed to leap into abstraction. That is the details of the stories you have built up, etc. There were so many ghostly words that I thought it would be better to read Ways of Survival again. I ate a tangerine that the villagers gave me and thought hard about it. Stupid guy, it is a face that doesn't understand anything. I'm sorry. Don't try to understand it if you do know. Not everyone will learn control in the same way. What are you saying? It was like I was struck. It is your problem from the beginning. You lack respect for the elderly. You must learn how to listen first. I don't think I can listen better than this. I'm telling you to listen to the words of your story. Words of the story. Was this mentioned in Ways of Survival? You already have the talent to communicate with stories. It is the talent to listen to their emotions and words. It was true. I didn't know when, but I was able to read the stories, just like they were people. However, I want to control the stories, not chat. The stories aren't controllable. The one saying this was the person who taught the method to control stories. Can you control your thoughts? Of course I can. Then don't think of anything for 5 minutes. I nodded as if it was easy. Don't think, don't think. Damn, I was thinking don't think. I tried hard to escape my thoughts, but it wasn't easy. In 5 minutes, many things passed through my head. For example, the probability of Yu Jonghyuk becoming a girl and killing the demon kings, or Han Soo-young suffering from an unknown delirium declaring, "I'm sorry for plagiarizing Kim Dokja at the time." I raised both hands and surrendered. I can't do it. You're a fool. The story Demon King of Salvation is laughing at you. This is what you have to do from today. Listen to the words of the story. But don't be afraid. No matter how big the story, they are stories that you gained. Turning away, Yu Hasung looked like a teacher for the first time. A story can dominate us, but sometimes it tells us the way. From that day on, I started practicing story control. To be precise, it was practice to hear the voices of the story more accurately. The giant story torch that swallowed the myth is annoyed by your interest. The stories were unfamiliar to me, but after a day or two, they started to gradually open up. I listened to the voices of the stories that had refrained from expressing their emotions so far. The story King of a Kingless World says it was very happy at the time. The stories told their tales, and I heard them. The stories became the memories we accumulated. The feeling of pleasure as the 4-yin demonic beheading sword broke the absolute throne. Yes, I really enjoyed it. It was because this was my first story. The story person who opposes the miracle says the returnee was really troublesome. That's right, the Myung Ilsing bastard was really tricky. I fought with Yu Jonghyuk and Han Soo-young and still almost died. The story one who hunted the king of disasters misses the taste of the snake wine. The story one who killed an outer god is asking you to remember. Every time I heard these words, I was immersed in my memories. On the other hand, it was hard to suppress the urgency if I delayed here for too long. Han Soo-young, Yu Jonghyuk, Anna Croft. Those who pursued a different ending from me might already be knocking at the door of the next scenario. The story Demon King of Salvation says you shouldn't run away anymore. I focused on the story again. From a certain point, the voices of the stories grew, and I found it hard to distinguish between reality and the illusion. My sense of space was fading. I couldn't tell if I was in the story or if I was listening to the story in reality. The story, revolutionary of the silver screen, is hungry for a new revolution. Yes, I'm sorry. I neglected you for too long. The story Gourmet Association's heretic is complaining of hunger. The story Miracle Gambler wants another big bet. In between, dreamlike screens pass by. Doctor Sasai, we almost died, do you know? Ajasi. The voices of the party members were faintly heard from somewhere. Oh, how cheap, you are training alone. We'll learn quickly, who can we learn from? I had a thought while listening to those voices. If this was really a dream, it was a sweet dream. Why am I not getting a story? Dr. Hyung got a story from doing this. Your hands off him, Lee Gil-young. Stay away, Shin Yu-sung. In my dream, I heard the children muttering things like Ajasi and I, or Dr. Hyung and Lee Gil-young. I didn't know how they would use such stories even if they did obtain them, but the giant story, Demon World Spring, is looking at your story together. Why? I listened to the voices of the children and felt warm. In my dim vision, countless stories were watching the scene with me. The story person who is loved by an archangel likes your stories. The story king of a kingless world is watching the children. The story giant's liberator is looking at the party members with fond eyes. All the stories resembled me, and I resembled all the stories. If so, that guy alone on the other side was surely part of us. The giant story torch that swallowed the myth is turning away from you. I spoke to it, stop being grumpy and come here. There was no answer. The one who threatened other stories with its size was turning its back to us. Its head was drooping like a child reading something. Maybe I already knew. This was a small child immersed in its own story. Still, such stories couldn't exist alone. I spoke carefully to its back. It looks interesting. The torch that swallowed the myth looked up at me and raised its body. You. The story will a very large body glared at me. Strangely, I wasn't afraid of it. This guy was a story. All stories had to flow somewhere. Where do you want to go? It couldn't easily answer my question and shut its mouth. It probably couldn't answer. I knew its heart. Come with me. To where? I slowly opened my mouth and spoke. I wanted all my stories to reach Black. The story asked, what is at the end of the whole story? I don't know. Still, at least we won't be alone. The story, Hell of Eternity, is looking at you. After a while, I felt the stories wrapping around my fingertips. My body floating in the waves of the story gradually became heavy, and I slowly opened my eyes. I couldn't tell how much time had passed. My legs were numb. I looked down and saw Lee Gil-young and Shin Yu-sung leaning against them while sleeping. They weren't stories. They were children with real bodies. I lightly stroked the hair of the children. The giant story torch that swallowed the myth is listening to your story. Finally, I was ready to leave for the next scenario. At this time, the only survivor of the 331st island was moving towards the next scenario. You have slaughtered all participants on the island. You are the only survivor of the 331st island. You are qualified to enter the following scenario. A black coat was flapping, and the black demon sword shone. Looking at the portal to the next scenario, Yu Jonghyuk was reminded of the insidious presence he met just before coming here. The outer god in the third round whose identity was unknown. I can't tell you the full contents of the revelation. It is too much of a breach of probability, even for me. However, I can give this much. This way, it will be a fair fight. He turned on the smartphone, and a text file appeared. Han Soo-young, record of the 1963rd round, first. Yu Jonghyuk moved towards the portal, while opening the first chapter of the story he didn't know. TL note. Due to personal reasons, I have quit and will no longer be translating Omniscient Reader. A new translator has already found, so there should be no gaps in the chapters, but some terms and stuff might change. Chapter 363, Inaudible Words 3. TL, hi, everyone. This is the new teaser for this novel, A Passing Wanderer. Pretty much all the names of characters introduced so far will be changed to better reflect the official Korean romanization standard spellings. Certain technical terms will also be changed to better match that of the Korean terms used as well. My apologies for any inconvenience caused. If you have any questions, please refer to Wikipedia's revised romanization of Korean for more details. It had been a week since my arrival in the village. After all the fables settled down in their places, I began preparing for the next scenario right away. TL, previous term for Kosawainus, changed from story to fable. The Isle of Reincarnators is formed around 3 islands: the small island, where the probability of the first generation of fables is applicable; the middle island, where the probability of the second generation of fables is applicable; finally, the main island, where the probability of the third generation of fables is applicable. Unlike how it was in the small island, I'd be directly clashing against the constellations from the middle island onwards, meaning the beings that managed to survive while breaking past the rather realistic probability of the first generation were waiting for me there. The great fable, Torch That Swallowed the Myth, urges you to get a move on. As usual, one of the guys remained temperamental, but, well, I figured that I had gained enough control over them by now anyway. Yu Hosiang said this before: fables would try to control their user, but at the same time, they would also show the person the way forward too. TL. Yu Hasung Yu Hosiang. The great fable, Demon World Spring, is waiting for your decision. These guys would have to continue existing within me from now on. We'd get to tell new stories, and they would shine as new and different fables as well. Miss Huiwan, good to see you that you're unhurt. TL. Yong Hiwan Jiang Huiwan. Can't you change your repertoire of greetings already? I almost died for real this time, you know. I was told that my companions arrived around a week after I began my fable control training. Apparently, they got lost at the outskirts of the island, and that delayed their arrival somewhat. I looked around and asked her, "Where is everyone?" "They are in training right now." We walked for a bit, and soon the sight of the kids, Yi Hyunseong and Jang Hayoung, sitting cross-legged on the ground caught my eyes. It seemed that their training wasn't easy, judging from their current facial expressions. TL. Lee Hyunsung Yi Hyunseong, Jang Hayoung Jang Hayoung. But that was rather obvious. Even at the shortest estimation, the fable control training would at least need around 2 months. The Yu Jung-hyuk from the original story needed to waste over 3 weeks, even with his incredible talent, so. TL. Yu Jong-hyuk Yu Jung-hyuk. I quietly observed the fables of my companions. Fable Kim Dokya Company's code of conduct is writhing around in pain. Fable one who hears the monster's voice is moaning in pain. Fable one who craves for the trust of his comrades is in great pain. Like how I earned my fables, they too had earned theirs. Going through the same scenarios didn't mean that we'd automatically earn the exact same fables. Their fables would be different from each other's, because they all possess different levels of sensibilities. The flow of time here is slower compared to other islands, so it'll be fine to take it easy with your training. You shouldn't try to rush it. You will be able to fight properly in the great war of saints and demons only after you've completed your training, you see. TL. Constellation and Demon War, Great War of Saints and Demons. I understand. Fable Demon King's fanatical believer is singing a song. Oh, Dakya Hyang said it back then. I am the god of the world. Follow me and you'll learn the truth of the world. And when Gilyong wakes up, please tell him this. Something really bad will happen if he continues to acquire twisted fables. Li Gilyong Yi Gilyong. Jiang Huiwan broke into a fit of giggles, and I reprimanded her with a slightly more serious tone of voice. This isn't a joke, you know. I'm not joking either. Mr. Dakya, you really need to consciously recognize your position. I'm talking about recognizing just what kind of a person you are to these kids. Do you think they would have made it this far without you, Mr. Dakya? I wordlessly stared at Shin Yuseung and Yi Gilyong as they pinched the backs of each other's hands even during the training itself. These 2 kids trusted me and were willing to come this far while sharing our imperfect story together. TL. Shin Yuseung Shin Yuseung. A brand new fable that had not existed before has begun sprouting within you. It's the same story for me. The last person I looked at was Jang Ha-yong. Trickles of cold perspiration soaked her forehead as she maintained the intense battle against her fables. I don't want to hear it. Honestly, I don't want to. But you must hear it, no matter what you must. My ears overheard the fable's voice coming out of her. With that, I could guess which fable Jang Ha-yong was watching right now. Most likely, she'd get to awaken a new attribute on this island, and then she'd use that as a foundation to become the king of the Transcenders. E.D. Transcendence, Transcenders. Mr. Dakya. Yes. Are you aware that you've been behaving indifferently only towards Miss Ha-yong? That wasn't my original intention. Things somehow worked out that way. That story you told us, shouldn't you tell that to Miss Ha-yong as well? The story I told my companions. It was quite clear what Jiang Hui-wan referred to in this case. This world is constructed with a novel as the basis, and I'm the sole reader who read that novel. Currently, I've told that story to only a small number of my companions. Most other people, including Kyejios and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, didn't know this truth. Jang Ha-yong was no exception. I lowered my waist and observed her face a little closer. Deep double eyelids and gently curling golden hair, even without moisture retention, pale smooth and soft skin, slightly plump cheeks and charming dimples that appear when she smiles. Due to an oddly androgynous atmosphere, her gender is hard to identify with her face alone. The descriptions from within the text of ways of survival and the comments I had left behind in the past were all coming back to me now. Her appearance that exactly matched my imagination became an indescribable guilt weighing me down. I'm not sure how much I can be honest with her. Pardon. I couldn't tell Jang Ha-yong the truth. I mean, how could I? Tell her that I created you, that you were born because of my comments. I've been thinking about this quite often lately. Maybe it wasn't that the novel I've been reading became reality, but that novel was simply a recording of this world. What are you suddenly talking about? Maybe that was what I've been wishing for. Just like what the much younger Kim Dakya had been thinking, a long time ago. Jiang Hui-wan looked back at me with a puzzled expression, and I replied with a weak grin. I like being with you, Miss Hui-wan. Yes, me too. It's the same story with our other companions as well. For now, that's as far as my thoughts have gone. I apologize for being selfish like this. She was lost in a train of thought for a little while, but nodded her head soon enough. Well, it's fine, Mr. Dakya, you are doing what you want to do anyway, I understand. Thank you. By the way, when our companions wake up, please give them this. And this is... It's the information on the upcoming scenario. The memo pad I handed over to Jiang Hui-wan contained information on the middle island, our next scenario. Hang on, Mr. Dakya, again you. Jiang Hui-wan and her quick wits seemed to have realized why I was handing this thing over to her. I knew that you show up around today or so. I sought out Yu Hosiang first before leaving the small island. Whatever the case might have been, he taught me the fable control, so I wanted to express my gratitude. Well, that was a lie. I had an ulterior motive for being here. May I ask, why did you accept our group? Yu Hosiang frowned deeply after hearing my sudden question. It's just the whims of an old geezer. It was a rather bizarre sight to see a kid who looked to be 10 years old or so refer to himself as a geezer, but it wasn't an improbable spectacle either, because the invincible fist Yu Hosiang was an existence that had lived far longer than your regular demon kings or archangels, after all. The Zeroth Murim, known only through legends being passed down, the greatest expert under the heavens in that Murim was none other than Yu Hosiang. If you're done asking your questions, get out of my sight this instant. I do not wish to look at your ugly mug any longer. He was putting up the exact same act of driving away one's guests, just like in the beginning. Don't you want to come with us? What rubbish are you spewing now? I'm aware that, once the scenario on the small island concludes, you are allowed to advance to the next one. The upcoming Great War of Saints and Demons is a scenario like that after all. Yu Hoxiang's brows greatly quivered just then. Even back in the original story, there was a turn where the Great War of Saints and Demons took place in the Isle of Reincarnators. The meeting of the new and the old, a fusion scenario with the first generation. Most likely, the Bureau should be busy with advertising this scenario using such slogans on the outside, which was by design actually. It was a scheme to use the first generation of fables, only spoken through rumors and hearsay, as the focal point of the advertisement itself. The thing was, though, the Bureau's scheme to make lots of moolah could also serve as an opportunity for the forgotten who were left behind and abandoned by the passing of the eras. It's possible that you might be able to leave this island by using this chance. The Isle of Reincarnators was like the living museum of the star stream. The reincarnators of this place could live forever in perpetuity on this island, but at the same time must suffer the curse of never being able to step outside, all because of the contract these people signed with the master of the island. How long are you planning to remain as a relic of the bygone era, like some kind of a stuffed animal? Yu Hoxiang slowly closed his eyes. It looked as if he was trying to calm his rising anger. What do you expect from us after leaving here? The forgotten being strong is only applicable within this island. The first generation no longer matters. Nobody wants to see such a tale. For sure, he was right about that. The majority of the reincarnators wouldn't be able to properly display their prowess after leaving the island where the probability of the first generation was still active. The first generation of the forgotten wouldn't be able to adapt to the outside world ruled by the system, rife with powerful Kai and magic. However, not everyone would be like that. The transcenders who studied under you are playing active roles in the outside world even now, meaning there are definitely some who yearn to see the fables you have created. I'm sure there are. However, I'm also sure that such a thing can't become the trend. Does it have to be, though? What's that? I'm asking you whether it needs to become the trending topic in order to become a good fable or not. Since when did you start caring about such a thing anyway? Yu Hoxiang's eyes shot open, and the proverbial flames were flickering within them. Are you suggesting that, after all this time, I should become a plaything of the constellations once more? If I take one more step here, make that one last push, then I'd definitely get my head blown away just like other demon kings. So I couldn't take that step. What I did take, though, was just half a step instead. You've been listening to the story of the fables for a long time. I had to shake this guy up exactly to the length of my half step, so that he'd willingly take the other half by himself. Don't you think it's about time that you start personally telling your own story? Yu Hoxiang's eyes opened even wider, clear ripples visibly spreading out within his irises. I formed a wordless smile and turned around to leave. Fable Pebble and I is cackling to itself. TL, Stone and I Pebble and I. Well, I've cast my stone now, and the rest wasn't up to me anymore. Because the one to make this seriously scary transcender move his butt would be someone else, actually. Are you really leaving without saying goodbye? Everyone is focused right now and I don't want to disturb them. Besides, we should meet up again pretty soon anyway. Also, there's something that I must do after going there first. I chose not to say any special goodbyes to my companions, but did say my farewell to Jiang Huiwan. She carried a rather rueful expression, but it seemed that she had accepted my decision as was. Please, you must survive. Let's meet again. We lightly bumped fists. Just before my departure, the villagers came to see me off. Would you like some bread on your journey? It's been freshly baked this morning. I thought you liked stones, so I brought some of my collections. Several villagers I had grown friendlier with during my stay gifted me with some food. As the villagers grew further away in my view, I spotted Yu Hoxiang among them. He too wished for some kind of a change to take place. And that was why he probably decided to teach me and my companions, while praying that the skill he taught would change the island, flip the great war of saints and demons on its head, and eventually transform the star stream itself too. Fable, reincarnator of 10,000 years, is singing a song of farewell. Fable, world's most ancient farmer, is wishing you Godspeed. Some would leave, while some would remain behind. The moments of the most distant things meeting and then parting again would be remembered by the fables. That was how this world continued to exist. As I turned around, I heard Yu Hoseong's voice projection enter my ear. It's possible that the master of the island might become interested in you. It'll be better for you to be more cautious. I returned a light smile as my reply. There was this message that kept repeating itself in front of my eyes since a while ago, you see. Master of the island is paying close attention to you. I approached the village's giant brazier to find that Chiak Junjeong was waiting for me. Let us travel together. Sounds good. We'd get separated during our transfer to the middle island anyway, but still, I felt somewhat more confident now that we were making our entrance together. By the way, about the next scenario. The scenario of the middle island was a preparatory one for the main island's great war of saints and demons. Chiak Junjeong nodded his head, seemingly having misunderstood what I said somehow. Now that I recall, you are a demon king, are you not? All right. If I'm destined to fight you, then I swear to give it my all. No, hang on a sec, that's not what I. This great one shan't be tethered to the unnecessary personal emotions of fate during our true battle, so you can rest easy. No, hang on. I'd much rather prefer that you be tethered to your unnecessary emotions, though. Somehow, I now had to pray fervently that I don't become Chiak Junjeong's target during the upcoming scenario. Tutorial scenario has concluded. Transfer to the middle island has begun. Main scenario has been updated. Accompanied by the update message, the surrounding view began changing bit by bit. You have arrived on Middle Island No. 3. Thankfully, I couldn't see Chiak Junjeong next to me. The moment my transfer was complete, the acrid odor of blood stung my nose. I was greeted by the grisly sight of dead corpses belonging to constellations and incarnations strewn about on a vast plain. This sight was more than enough to dampen one's spirit, but I was relieved to see it, actually. It was far more advantageous to start this scenario later than the others, as that would lower the odds of running into powerful constellations that had entered here beforehand. Probability of the second generation is active within the relevant area. A portion of your skills have been unlocked. A portion of your overall stats have been restored. Along with the crackling noise, I felt my shoulders grow just a bit wider, while my height grew too. I had been feeling really constricted for some time, but now it felt like I could breathe a bit easier. A new hidden scenario has arrived. I quickly opened the scenario's info window. Hidden scenario snatching modifiers. Type main. Difficulty. Clear conditions. Take away the modifier necklace from the enemy designated as your target. In case the participant does not possess any modifiers, it will be replaced by his or her true name. Time limit. Reward. Randomly obtain one of the target's fables. Acquisition of a ticket for entry into the main island. Failure. This scenario was the final hurdle before advancing to the main island. The content of this scenario was simple in nature. I needed to take away the mark of the modifier from someone who was designated as my target. A small necklace shimmering in silver already found itself dangling around my neck by then. Demon King of Salvation. It was the necklace with my modifier written on. Number of survivors on Middle Island No. 3 is 262. 262, huh? That was a far higher number than I expected. However, it wasn't enough to change my plan, because the really powerful constellations should have advanced to the main island by now. No, the really important bit was just who got tagged as my target, but the powerful ones had already disappeared from here, so it must be. Your primary target has been decided. Modifier of your primary target is. Right after that, I discovered a group of constellations busy running towards this location from a distance. A group that was urgently running away as if they were being chased down by something. Along with the noise of the ground exploding, a part of the group became bloody sacks of meat and flew away like a splitting ocean wave. And I could see the one giving chase to the escaping constellations through the rising murky dust cloud. God damn it. Why was that beastard still here? Chapter 364, Inaudible Words 4. Bloody hell, I definitely didn't want to run into that guy here. I quickly hid behind the mountain of corpses while witnessing the waves of magical energy blowing around like violent storm winds. Not too long afterwards, I heard the voices of those hurriedly running away. That crazy monster. Yuak. The constellations were crushed mercilessly and were killed off, leaving behind only their death throes. Fables flooded out among the bits of body parts flying about, and the blood shed by the incarnations dyed the land crimson red. Run, hurry! Right behind them, the slaughterer responsible for this bloody spectacle finally arrived on the scene. I saw the purple-colored aura bright enough to be visible even from behind the tall mountain of corpses. All I could do was to silently watch the proceedings, unable to even breathe properly. The great fable, torch that swallowed the myth, is growling. The great fable, demon world spring, is shrinking back. Here came the possessor of the incredible status that could even negatively affect my fables. Fable flame that annihilates evil has begun its storytelling. The flame that annihilates evil, one of the fables that would display the greatest effect when dealing with evil-leaning constellations. I knew the owner of this fable really well. Flowing locks of platinum blonde hair, violet-colored eyes, the radiant wings of an archangel spreading behind his back. He was the sole archangel among Eden that displayed its hostility towards me. Constellation, savior of the corrupted, has begun its judgment for salvation. Savior of the corrupted, Archangel Michael, a being who possessed the same modifier words just like me. TL, the Korean words for savior and salvation, is different by only one letter. Here, MC is not saying his modifier has the word savior in it, but the same first two letters. Kugugugugu. The sword of savior, held in Archangel Michael's hand, split the world in half. The purple-colored fog on the blade spread out, and this fog ignited into flames that soon started burning the atmosphere itself. The flames crossed the air in the blink and reached the constellations trying to escape. Aleku. 5 or 6 constellations running away screamed at the top of their lungs and crumbled to the ground. Fables became ash within the purple-colored flames and scattered away. The only things remaining on the spots once occupied by the dead constellations were modifier necklaces gleaming in a silvery hue. Michael flew in the air and landed beside them to confirm the dropped loot. It's still not here. He seemed to be searching for something. A bizarre light shot out from his eyes as he began observing his surroundings. Feels like there's one more rat hidden somewhere nearby. Could I win if I was to fight Michael here? I grew quite a bit stronger after learning fable control, but still, I wasn't confident of winning against that guy for the time being. Not only was he the strongest battle angel in Eden, he was also infinitely closer to becoming a myth-grade constellation, too. If he decided to go all out, then he'd not be in a disadvantageous position against even Poseidon, who fought in Gigantomachia. Even if I knew all the info on the guy through ways of survival, well. Guo. Silvery light oozed out from Michael's 2 eyes. That was Eye of the Archangel. One of the exclusive skills possessed by archangels that detected the presence of evil. It seemed that he could use that skill now after the probability of the second generation had been unlocked. His eyes, burning like the ghostly flames of Dakibai, began scanning his surroundings. The range of his vision slowly shifted and was heading in my direction. My heart began beating faster bit by bit. Should I make a run for it? It was at that moment that the pebble the villagers gave me writhed within my inner pocket. Fable Pebble and I has begun its storytelling. And something quite unexpected happened next. Due to the effect of the fable, your detectable presence has become similar to that of a pebble. The demonic energy emitted by you has become assimilated to the surrounding nature. Michael scanned the mountain of corpses I was hiding behind without much of a reaction, before eventually withdrawing his vision while muttering to himself. Was I mistaken? He then complained with an unhappy-sounding voice as he rose up in the air. All because the scribe issued a time-wasting order. His wings spread out widely, and his figure disappeared into the distance in an instant. Only after his presence was completely gone did I stand up from my hiding spot, while wiping the cold sweat off my forehead. Fable, Pebble, and I is pestering you for praise. You did well, thanks. Fable, Pebble, and I is giggling happily to itself. I had no idea that this fable could help me out in this manner, a fable that could turn my presence into that of a pebble. I did feel a bit mixed about it, but still, it might come in handy later on. I then quickly took a look around the devastated surroundings. Number of survivors on Middle Island No. 3 is 224. In that brief amount of time, 38 people got slaughtered. Most of them were incarnations or constellations only on the level of historical figure grade, but there were some fable grade mixed in among the victims as well. TL. The historical figure grade was first introduced in CH 40, but it seems to have been not TL'd by the former translator for some reason. Also, previous narrative grade will change to fable grade, as they both use the exact same Korean spelling. ED. Seems like historical figure grade was TL'd as upper or great grade. The sight reminded me of what it'd look like right after a natural disaster swept by. This was the true power of the archangels. The high-ranking demon kings should also possess a similar level of power, too. Now that was a close shave. If things went wrong, I was planning to use revelation, even. You were watching. Yes, I was on a break, you see. I recovered a bit of my energy after hearing Yu Sanga's clear voice. TL, Yu Sanga. Right, even if the enemies that I had to fight against were extremely powerful, I too held several hidden cards up my sleeve. By the way, don't the conditions of the corpses seem a little odd? I nodded my head and looked down at the sagging corpses. To be more specific, I wasn't looking at the remains but their modifier necklaces, which seemed a bit off. Most of those had either disappeared or a portion of the modifiers were damaged. Yu Sanga asked a question. Even if we say that necklaces have disappeared after they were hunted down as targets, but why would only portions of modifiers disappear like that? The ancient, the aged, endless. Several modifiers were missing words here and there. It was as if someone deliberately stole only certain letters and nothing else. Some people are exploiting the loophole. Loophole. Do you remember the condition to clear this scenario? Wasn't it, snatch away the modifier necklace from an opponent designated as your target? Correct, but in reality, there's no reason to hunt down your target, you see. What's important here is to get your hands on the necklace itself. Yu Sanga replied in a surprised voice. Ah, could it be? Just as I nodded my head, a new message entered my ears. It is possible to collect modifier syllables in the corresponding area. You can craft a new necklace with the collected syllables. There are those who steal modifiers from other constellations and create the modifier necklace that their targets are wearing. Basically, a modifier was a combination of words. For instance, my modifier, Demon King of Salvation, was made up of the following syllables: Du, Mon, King, of, Sal, Va, and Tian. Meaning, as long as you collected those syllables, you didn't have to snatch my necklace away, but would still be able to construct the same thing as mine. Why is the Bureau permitting this kind of shortcut? The condition of snatching away the designated target's necklace can potentially slow down the progress of the scenario, you see. Also, there's a possibility that your target has already escaped from this scenario too, which will further complicate the situation. Constellations hated slow progress, and they really loved the fast-paced action and the continuous rush of that refreshing feeling. Which means all these people were sacrificed for just a single word. I nodded my head again. Most likely, powerful constellations slaughtered the lower-classed ones and combined the necessary modifiers belonging to their targets. Well, that would be a lot quicker than searching for a target that constantly ran away from you, after all. Rather than praying for the dead's safe journey to the afterlife, I began rummaging through the discarded necklaces that now resembled corn on the cob, missing many of its kernels. Yu Sang didn't say anything. You have acquired the modifier syllable, of. There were almost no useful words remaining. The majority of them were common adpositions. Without a doubt, all the necessary words had already been collected by other constellation as the pieces for their puzzle combinations. I did rummage through the pile of corpses that Michael left behind and found a few useful items, though. As expected, it seemed that a constellation like Michael wouldn't hesitate to throw away items that were star relics. Indeed, his wealth was on another scale, but besides all that, why don't you come out already? Michael is far away by now, you know. My voice quietly resounded out in this empty, devastated location. No presence of a person could be felt, but I still spoke up one more time. You should come out while I'm still being civil, okay? There was one other person hiding within the corpses. This person managed to perfectly hide their presence, but I was pretty sure of them being there. Why? Because I clearly witnessed them going into hiding just as the bloody slaughter commenced. Accompanied by bususa noise, a corner of the corpse pile collapsed and fell as a certain someone stood up. An incarnation that somehow managed to avoid the detection of eye of the archangel revealed themselves. Demon King of Salvation. A blonde-haired woman full of wounds was glaring straight at me. Blood continued to flow out from both her torn arm and the grievous wound on her stomach. Even at a casual glance, they seemed to be pretty serious injuries. I spoke while looking back at her. Looks like things are not going as well as you hoped, Anna Croft. I recalled the moments when Anna Croft first made her appearance within Ways of Survival. The prophet of Asgard and capable of freely using precognition and retrocognition. She was the one character that possessed the skills to counter the regressor, Yu Jung-hyuk. Because of that, she became his chief rival in the latter half of Ways of Survival. During the original storyline, that was a woman willing to bear any cost for the sake of her great cause. One of the most powerful incarnations, and a character who'd become the master of Zarathustra in the distant future, something that even constellations feared. Such a person was sagging powerlessly right in front of my eyes. I crushed one of the great return pills I bought earlier and shoved it inside her mouth. She opened her eyes around 30 minutes after that. As soon as she did, she spotted me and, while breaking out in a near convulsion, stood up from the ground in great haste. Sit down, your physical condition is still dangerous. She confirmed that her wrists and ankles weren't bound and quickly stepped back, still being wary of me. Why did you save me? I've got a few things to ask you. And what makes you think I'll answer your questions? She growled like a wild beast. This was a slightly different appearance from the prophet that I remembered. Why are you participating in the great war of saints and demons? So I can earn a great fable, obviously. Could there be any other reason? But shouldn't you be getting ready to tackle a different great fable scenario by now? Am I wrong? Anna Croft bit her lips after hearing my question. In the original storyline, she shouldn't be taking part in the great war of saints and demons, because she was supposed to participate in another great fable scenario called Ragnarok instead. That is, the light in her eyes shook visibly, and that was the same thing as me hearing her answer. You've been discarded by the nebula. This problem doesn't concern you. She began gritting her teeth now. I could easily understand the rage contained within those words, though. Anna Croft and I clashed against each other a couple of times so far, and that changed the future of the original storyline she was supposed to live out. Back during the Gourmet Association, or back during Gigantomachia, she didn't get to achieve any notable feats. As her repeated failures accumulated, the nebula Asgard simply chucked her into the midst of the great war of saints and demons, all by herself, after she was deemed no longer useful. Was this because of me? The future that I changed didn't just transform the fate of Yu Jung-hyuk and my companions. I spoke to Anna Croft as she glared at me with eyes filled with contempt. What if you get to earn a myth-grade fable in this place? What did you say? Wouldn't Asgard have to reassess you in that case then? The myth-grade fable, her irises quaked visibly after hearing that term. What are you trying to say here? I can help you. I'm asking you what your motives are. I don't have any ulterior motives. I only wish for you and Zarathustra to grow without any issues. That is all. Character Anna Croft has activated lie detection LV-8. Character Anna Croft has confirmed the applicable remark to be true. Her expression was dyed in pure astonishment, but it recovered quickly enough. The light in her eyes reverted back to the one belonging to the calm, level-headed prophet from my memories. And what do you want in return? As expected, prophets were quick on the uptake, and that made my life easier. Lend me your ability for a bit. Most likely, Anna Croft had no idea that the first being I met on this middle island happened to be her, and just how glad I felt about this lucky encounter. Somewhere in the mountainous region of the island, Asmodeus rubbed its chin while looking at the modifier necklace it earned as it stood on top of a tall, ancient tree. The Hunter of Dejes. Now originally, Asmodeus was supposed to target the modifier the Hunter of Grudges. Unfortunately, other competitors hunted down its target already, and thanks to that, it was left with a tattered necklace that said the Hun of instead. So I've already acquired Dejes and Tur. That means all I need to find is Gru. The problem was, there weren't that many constellations remaining on this island that still possessed the modifier containing Gru. The side effect of participating later because I was taking care of my dependents is fairly large, isn't it? Asmodeus stayed on top of the tree and scanned every corner of the island to search for the remaining constellations. It was at that point that the Demon King heard the explosions ringing out from the forest up north. Judging from their scale, it could guess who was behind them. Yet another round of cleanup had commenced, it seemed. It had proved to be entertaining if Asmodeus decided to stick its nose in there. But then a familiar voice entered its ear canals. According to precognition, it is somewhere nearby. Oh, really? Asmodeus's expression brightened up the instant it heard those voices. It lightly jumped off from the treetop and arrived before the owner of the voice with a gobsmacking turn of speed. There they were, a man wearing a white coat and a platinum blonde woman. Asmodeus smiled brightly. Demon King of Salvation, looks like we were fated to cross paths in this manner. The Demon King of Salvation, the owner of the syllable it was looking for, was now standing right in front of its eyes. However, the man didn't seem to be flustered at all. TL. There was a Korean pun at play here which can't be TL'd into English, unfortunately. Grudge is written as Kalwunhenenus, while Salvation is written as Kalguwunenus. As you can see, Kalwunenus part is the same in both words. I didn't come here to fight, Asmodeus. That's not something for you to decide, because you need the syllable Gru, right? Killing me and taking away Gru is an option, sure. However, I have a more interesting offer. Do you want to hear it? Asmodeus formed a dazed expression for a bit, before making its reply. It's already quite amusing that you are making me an offer, yet it's also supposed to be interesting too. Now I want to hear about it more than ever. Asmodeus's voice was thickly dyed in excitement and madness already. It even sported an expression that said it was seriously weighing the pros and cons of devouring the tasty prey right in front of its eyes, or an even more delicious potential prey later on. It then continued on. However, if I don't find your offer interesting, then you will. I'm not the only one with the syllable Gru on this island. Another owner of Gru. Asmodeus's expression shifted once more. Could it be? If we're participating in the great war of saints and demons, we should start acting more seriously now, don't you agree? The reflection of Kim Dokya in the eyes of Asmodeus was grinning like a true demon king at that moment. Are you interested in Archangel Hunting? Chapter 365, Archangel Hunting 1. It's no fun when no one is fighting back. Michael stared at the corpses strewn about the field while smoking a rolled tobacco. Ash-gray smoke mushroomed up in the air. This cigarette was manufactured by the second generation of craftsmen. The reason why Michael enjoyed hunting demons or going on a business trip was because he got to smoke the cigarettes he liked so much, to his heart's content. In Eden, smoking was an evil, a sin. Michael smoked through several cigarettes in a row, and as he fell into a chain of thought, stubbed it out by rubbing it against the exposed flesh of a dead corpse. Have I taken too long? What do you mean too long? It's only just begun. Michael heard the voice reverberating within his head and frowned deeply. Shut up. Hurry, wake me up, unshackle me already. Michael pulled out a new cigarette. He had been hearing this particular fable's voice for a long time, and whenever he did, Michael simply had to burn through more cigarettes, one after the other. Now isn't the time. Michael took another long drag of the rising smoke. Nebula Eden has issued a new revelation. Archangel Hunting, is it? It does sound rather interesting. Asmodeus grinned brightly to reveal 2 rows of pearly white teeth after hearing my offer. It's not just any other archangel but the savior of the corrupted, too. Are you being serious about this? Of course. However, aren't you in a friendly relationship with Eden? If you do something like this, won't you end up as their enemy? Doesn't matter, I'm a demon king after all. Even if I didn't mean it, I still had to say it out loud. Because I'm trying to convince none other than Asmodeus here, and the demon king itself seemed to be seriously agonizing over my suggestion at the moment. Do give it careful consideration. You need the syllable GRU, right? On top of that, you'll be able to earn a fable concerning an archangel too, the one who hunted down a great archangel. Doesn't the thought alone excite you? Unfortunately, Asmodeus wasn't to be swayed that easily. No, rather than that, it was shooting me a approving gaze as if to ascertain what my true intentions were. I decided to throw an even bigger bait at this juncture. Well, that's disappointing. As a member of the Gourmet Association, I figured that you'd be different from other constellations. Asmodeus's long, slender brows quivered noticeably after hearing my words. Your understanding of the Demon King, Asmodeus, has increased by a great deal. Your understanding of the applicable individual is quite high. Second stage of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint has activated. Now that's the first time I heard such a message. Finally, the skill level of the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint had risen up high enough to let me take a peek at the inside of selected constellations, and right afterwards, I could hear Asmodeus's inner thoughts. He's utterly, hatefully arrogant, this demon king of salvation. Its inside was like a thick, sticky swamp. Listening to the private thoughts of a being looking back at me with a pair of quietly withdrawn eyes was making me feel rather uncomfortable. Its thoughts continued on. A trap that I want to fall into this badly, is it? As expected, it wasn't for nothing that Asmodeus had climbed up to the position of the candidate for the future great demon king. It had already figured out that my offer was a trap. It's likely that the target of the demon king of salvation is the savior of the corrupted. And he wants to use me and other constellations to hunt down Michael and steal the modifier necklace afterwards. It's commendable that he's using his brain so much, but well, it's a bit irritating to pretend that I fell for his schemes, isn't it? Asmodeus's expression gradually changed into an icy one. Unsurprisingly, it seemed that this much convincing wasn't going to be enough. Michael is a difficult angel to fight against, even when he's being restrained by the probability of the second generation. Asmodeus's conflicting thoughts were gradually finding their heading now. A faint killing intent seemed to ooze out from its long nails. I could sense Anna Croft next to me tense up and get into her battle mode. Maybe she used the precognition and saw something that was about to happen. However, I wasn't worried in the slightest, because it was about time that a situation even her precognition couldn't have predicted began. That was why. Like clockwork, Asmodeus's expression became rather weird. The demon's briefly hardened expression shifted into one filled with complicated emotions. Its eyes danced around as if it was reading something in the empty air. And so, how much time passed by like this? Countless emotions flitted in and out of Asmodeus's eyes before they finally landed back on me. Phew. Well, it's so hard to figure out the will of the star stream sometimes, you know. What do you mean by that? I was just talking to myself. Very well, I accept your offer. Let's try out this archangel hunting thing then. Asmodeus's announcement caused Anna Croft's eyes to go completely round in shock. She then formed a puzzled expression next. Completely disregarding her, the Demon King smacked its lips and concentrated on sending a message to someone somewhere. It was probably busy communicating with other seekers of the end, right about now. And at the same time, a message from a certain someone entered my head. Did I do well? You did, thank you, Sangossi. The reason why Asmodeus changed its mind. It probably read a certain revelation just now. More specifically, the fake revelation you, Sangha, and I had cooked up and spread around, that was. It said the corrupted archangel will die by the sword of a swordmaster on the island of the aged forgotten people. Another revelation was made. The bureau was also turned upside down by the news of a new revelation. The first place to be affected by this was the sales department. Sir, we have a sudden spike in the sale of the swordmaster-related skills. Replenish their stock immediately. Call the related subcontractors and tell them to speed up the output of the mass production type stigma. But even then, our stock is running low, sir. DM in it. Where did all the fable manufacturers disappear to? Who was it again? Right, if we request the mass production type maker then. In the meantime, Bihyung was quietly observing the developing situation from within this crucible of confusion and chaos. The great Dakibai Baram addressed him from the side. Bihyung, you should start a new scenario. I've already done so, sir. A new message was floating up on the scenario observation screen that flickered into life just then. Sub-scenario Archangel hunting has commenced. Soon, the sight of the constellations hiding within the forest and the planes rushing somewhere en masse showed up on screen. They had all purchased Swordmaster-related fables from the Dakibai bag just now. Will it be fine to open a scenario like this one, sir? Surely, Eden would strongly oppose this. We have already obtained the scribe's consent. He said that it doesn't really matter. We've already compensated them, so there's no need to hold back. To think he'd allow one of his angels to be used as the subject of a scenario. That doesn't sound like what the leader of the absolute good would do. That's how the absolute good operates. For the sake of the greater good, they would trample on smaller good every now and then. I'm aware of that, sir, but lately it's becoming harder for me to understand them. Regarding just what are Eden and the demon world thinking? Them agreeing to go ahead with the great war of saints and demons scenario, and wouldn't they all perish together if they do this? Baram stared at Bihyung with unreadable eyes before forming a smirk. There's a saying about how short life is, but art would go on forever. That's a saying from Earth, isn't it, sir? Correct. Those are words that exalt the story's eternal nature. But you should be aware of this, such a notion is false. Even the greatest fable will die sooner or later. It's just that, compared to the length of a fable's lifespan, a human's life is simply far too short, that is all. Baram's voice seemed to contain the regrets of an innumerable length of time. Indeed, those words belonged to a Dakibai that had continuously told the tales of constellations for a truly long time. Did you know? Once upon a time, stories with no distinction between good and evil didn't exist within Starstream. Yes, I know. But what about now? Screams from the constellations killed by Michael's blade could be heard coming from the screen, and there were other constellations silently peeping at this battle. These constellations were sponsoring someone else, they were busy swearing at others, or were fully enjoying the show. Coins exchanged hands, and cries of pleasure and despair continued to resound out. And within this spectacle, not one person seemed to care about either good or evil. Ugh! As he spat out that short gasp, Bihyung finally understood the great Dakibai's wisdom. Baram addressed his junior once more. This is a war to stop them from disappearing. For the next 2 days, Anna Croft and I prepared for the hunt. Asmodeus didn't act with us, though. Let us meet again on the hunting ground at midday, 2 days from now. It left those words behind and disappeared on us. I was pretty sure that the Demon King was getting ready to hunt down an angel in its own way. There were around 30 minutes left until midday. The promised location for our archangel hunting was the fertile forest located on the north of the island. Just before we reached our destination, Anna Croft threw me a question. Do you really think we can pull this off? You're going to help me out, aren't you? Even if it's me, I can't predict the future all the time. You already know this better than anyone. It's fine to read the nearest future for the time being. What I needed to avoid were the unseen variables that might happen in the near future, and Anna Croft's precognition was the most suitable skill for avoiding such things. What will you do if I decide to betray you, if my target is you then? I know that's not the case. From the get-go, I couldn't have been her target. Why? Because she was inserted into the scenario way before me. She narrowed her eyes to a slit and asked me again. By the way, since when did you stop using polite speech to address me? Oh, now that I think about it, you're right. Should I address you with polite speech again, ma'am? You're being a jerk right now, so please just stop. All right, how many times can you use precognition today, young miss? Anna Croft glared at me with a dumbfounded expression before making her reply. 3 times. Don't use them unnecessarily, and activate them only after I give you the signal. Why should I listen to? You should listen, so we can finish this SHTTY scenario for good. From afar, we could hear the screams of the constellations and incarnations. The hunting had begun already. Along with the horrifying explosions, the oppressive voice of the aloof, proud archangel rocked the entire forest. You dare to use me as the subject matter for a scenario. Anna Croft and I hid in the nearby bushes and observed the battleground. We couldn't spot Asmodeus anywhere yet. Instead of him, though, almost all the participants still remaining on Middle Island No. 3 had gathered here in the fertile forest. Most of them just so happened to be evil or neutral-type constellations. There were many historical figure-grade constellations, and I even spotted a lower-ranked Demon King, too. It was darkness of no value Belial from the 68th Demon World. He must have shown up here after heeding Asmodeus's call. Not just him, but other constellations were each carrying a longsword of the 2nd generation at the moment. Attack him! Michael watched the constellations rushing towards him with Belial in the lead and fumed in pure rage. A measly little lower-ranked Demon King dares to. You all must have gone mad as a group. The Archangel used a stupendously powerful wind pressure to blow Belial away and activated his status to generate a barrier of winds. However, there were some who managed to break past the barrier to still take shots at him. Constellation, Hardwork Specialist, has activated the skill, Mass-Produced Physical Sword Aura. The exact same skill was activated simultaneously from the longswords held by the participants. Waves of yellow, or even blue, colored sword auras physically manifesting themselves sliced past Michael's status and advanced forward. The Archangel formed a mocking grin. Ether Blade, what a crazy bunch of fools. The revelation I leaked to the world through you Sang-Ah was fake. Without a doubt, no swordmaster out there would be capable of killing Archangel Michael. However, just because it was a fake revelation, that didn't mean it was complete rubbish with no odds of coming true either. CHCHCHCHU. probability of the second generation, has granted a powerful buff effect on the applicable skills. The physical sword aura was currently being ridiculed as an exclusive skill of the Transcenders. However, there was a period of time in the past when the second generation viewed it as the greatest skill ever. It's working, keep cutting him down. Kayak. Michael's wind barrier began melting away gradually from the continual baptism of the sword auras. He got flustered and tried to activate a new fable, but then, a jet-black light of ether suddenly sliced down from the air. Sleas. Like magic, space separated, as if it had been sliced away in its entirety. Only the lengthy claw mark left behind by a demon king was visible from the gaps of the crumbling barrier. I always wondered whether an archangel without wings can fly or not. Michael's torn wing moved with great difficulty in the air. Through the falling feathers, Asmodeus's smiling mug revealed itself to the world. And I finally got my answer today. The wing's existence is not related to the archangel's ability to fly. Asmodeus. Taken over by his rage, Michael poured out his magical energy towards the demon. Unfortunately, he couldn't aim at his target properly after his balance was affected due to the damage to his incarnation body. He began wasting his energy instead. On the other hand, Asmodeus used other constellations to diligently pile on further injuries to Michael. As expected of Asmodeus, I couldn't help but marvel at this battle. We should get going. That demon king might end up snatching away our myth-grade fable at this rate. No, it's not the time yet, ma'am. My relaxed voice caused a flustered expression to form on Anna Croft's face. As long as she didn't use up her precognition, allowance for today, she'd never have guessed what was about to transpire soon. Fable, Evil That Destroys Evil, has begun its storytelling. Pitch-black aura suddenly began gathering around Michael's figure and enveloped him like some kind of a bud. It was hard to believe that such corrupted energy actually belonged to an archangel. And the good has chosen to walk the path of evil in order to destroy other evil. Constellations realized that something ominous was about to happen, and they continued to pour out their barrage of powerful attacks, but too bad, they failed to scratch that black bud even once. Instead, it seemed to suck in nutrients by absorbing the power of the surroundings, and slowly began blooming itself. Archangel Michael has become corrupted. While witnessing this overwhelming spectacle, I recalled a certain part of Ways of Survival in my head. Not every constellation of this world was divided into constellations and demon kings. There is just one creature, an existence that could use the powers of a constellation as well as a demon king at the same time. The soul being within the lengthy history of Eden who ate the star relic fruit. TL. First appeared in CH 316, initially TL'd as star fruit. No demon shall survive upon witnessing his true appearance. Kugagagugu. Oh my God, whispered Anna Croft. Something was waking up from within the pitch-black darkness. First a black pair of wings, and then the horns signifying a demon king. Demon king, king of corrupted angels, is scanning the battlefield. The so-called king of corrupted angels, that was Archangel Michael's modifier after he transformed into a demon king. Qaya. With a simple flick of its hand, all constellations leaning towards evil were swept away clean. Even if they were seemingly on the same evil side now, the difference in their classes was simply on another realm altogether. This was the true power of Michael, an archangel on the level of a myth grade. Even Asmodeus was forming a hardened expression now. This wasn't in the revelation. Soon after, Michael's status rained down, and several demon kings were flung away helplessly. The body of Asmodeus's incarnation must have received a tremendous amount of damage, because it, too, began faltering about. That was when I stood up from my spot. It's time. You want to join the battle now? Yes. Didn't you see what happened just now? Even if your target is that archangel, this is. What made you think that my target is the archangel? After hearing my question, Anna Croft could only blink her eyes in sheer dumbfoundedness. Her eye of the great demon began burning up in a reddish hue. See, can it be? We could see Asmodeus's body being flung away like a puppet, with its strings cut in the distance. From the get-go, I wasn't planning to face off against the corrupted archangel. And besides, he wasn't the only one possessing a myth-grade fable. Your targeted modifier is Devil of Lust and Wrath. TL, Devil of Lust and Fury, Devil of Lust and Wrath. I unsheathed my sword as the message popped up in the air and spoke to her. Well, let's go and get ourselves a myth-grade fable, shall we? Chapter 366, Archangel Hunting 2. Anna Croft and I moved towards the battlefield right away. Completely lost to madness now, Michael was ripping apart every single constellation and incarnation near him to bloody shreds. The evil born only to destroy evil. After transforming into a corrupted angel, just Michael's combat prowess alone would not lose out to that of Poseidon or Hades. Quite a few constellations are paying more attention to the situation unfolding on the middle island No. 3. Constellation, demon-like Judge of Flames, is looking at you with worried eyes. Those constellations who had either already made their way into the main island or hadn't participated in the great war of saints and demons began shifting their gazes in this direction now. After we reached the edge of Michael's firing range, Anna Croft spoke to me. Getting any closer than this will be dangerous. My covert operations skill can only. I reached out and grasped her wrist. Fable, Pebble, and I has begun its storytelling. Fable, Pebble, and I is puzzled by the existence of Anna Croft. Take care of this woman as well. Fable, Pebble, and I is looking at you with a slightly dissatisfied expression. Fable, Pebble, and I has assimilated Anna Croft into its effect. With that, we bravely ran through the battlefield. Michael and the other constellations didn't sense our presence at all. Most likely, we looked like a pair of pebbles rolling around on the ground or some such. Anna Croft asked me with a shocked voice, "What is up with this fable?" "It's a fable for turning into a pebble." Since we didn't have time, I replied to her like that. Corpses of constellations littered the pathways of the battlefield. Every now and then, we spotted still-breathing ones, too, such as the Demon King from the 68th Demon World, Darkness of No Value, Belial. After suffering from Michael's attacks, he was barely holding on as fables continued to leak out from his body. Wait, now that I thought about it, this dude was also aiming for me, wasn't he? Stab. I also calmly sunk my unbreakable faith in his body next. You have eliminated the 68th Demon World's Demon King. Applicable Demon King is of a lower ranking than you are, and there is no change to the ranking. You have acquired the modifier necklace, Darkness of No Value. You have murdered a 5th Demon King incarnation body. Possibility of a new attribute is opening up to you. But aren't you a Demon King yourself? Can you actually kill them like that? Well, I'll just give up being a Demon King then. Anna Croft heard my perfectly composed glib reply and formed a dumbfounded expression. Kugugagugoo. We heard the noises of Michael's status flooding out right behind us. If the probability of the second generation was slightly weaker, the entire forest would have been blown away by that power already. We don't have much time left, so let's hurry. Asmodeus should be in a state similar to this guy. The forest's path near our position was decorated by the fallen fragments of a Demon King's fables. These traces belonged to a much higher-ranked Demon King, one that couldn't be compared to Belial. You didn't have to be a genius to figure out who they belonged to. We brushed past the bushes for a bit, until finally discovering a figure of a person, leaning against the foot of a tall, ancient tree. So you did show up. As if it knew that I'd show up, Asmodeus was waiting for me with a smile on its face. An arm and a leg of its incarnation body were cut off and missing. Its chest area had been crushed as well, and it was truly hanging precariously on its last breaths. To think that Michael possessed the authority of corrupted, you knew that from the beginning, didn't you? Asmodeus formed an expression of someone who had realized everything now. And you're going to take away my necklace. Correct. Asmodeus's overturned modifier necklace gleamed brightly. If I took a hold of all the words on that necklace, the Demon King should be kicked out of the ongoing great war of saints and demons. In that case, you should hurry up. Asmodeus's incarnation body belonged to a girl of around 16 years of age. Even if this body died, Asmodeus's real self wouldn't die. However, that body would die for real, and she was the daughter of manager Han Myung-o, E.D. Han Myung-o. I won't kill you. Instead, let's make a trade. Trade? You want to trade after coming this far? Kindly hand over a myth-grade fable to me. Then, I won't eliminate you from this scenario. Asmodeus broke out into a loud peal of laughter before vomiting out a mouthful of blood. Now that is a rather amusing notion. Are you threatening me right now? I am. For a brief moment there, palpable tension flowed between the Demon King and I. Asmodeus glared at me, but the light in its eyes seemed to contain this faint trace of resignation. You have become a true Demon King now, haven't you? No one in the 72 seats would be able to deny that you're a true Demon King. Thanks for the compliment. However, there is a problem with your offer. Your target is me, so with what method will you not kick me out? If you don't lose all of your words, you don't get eliminated from the scenario. I'll leave you with one word remaining. The word I was planning to leave behind was of, which was something I already had as a spare. Asmodeus spoke back. I'm so thankful that I might cry now. I extended my hand towards its modifier necklace. Syllables began flowing out one by one from the item next. Modifier syllable, Lu has been acquired. Modifier syllable, Sin has been acquired. Modifier syllable, and has been acquired. Modifier syllable, Ra has been acquired. When around half of the syllables came my way, Asmodeus spoke up while glancing at my own modifier. No, more specifically, it must have been looking at the Tian of my modifier. Now that I take a look from up close, your modifier truly is a tempting one. I quickly hid the modifier necklace under my clothes and replied, don't try to kill Michael and just try to steal one word from him. If it's you, it should be more than doable, right? Just one word, is it? Are you perchance speaking of this one? It was at that moment that a certain necklace held in its still fine hand caught my eyes. Hunter of Grudges. Its targeted necklace, with all of the words completed, began emitting a bright glow. Demon King, Devil of Lust and Wrath, has attained the scenario clear condition. Transmission to the next scenario has begun. I reflexively took a look at my own necklace of modifier. It still said Demon King of Salvation, meaning that Gru didn't come from mine. I knew that this was a trap the moment Michael became corrupted. No way during such a short window. The transmission to the next scenario began, and Asmodeus's incarnation body slowly dispersed before my eyes. Did you really think that I wouldn't have made contingency plans for a situation like this one? From the onset, Asmodeus fought Michael for the express purpose of acquiring the syllable Gru, nothing more. I belatedly reached out towards the Demon King, but things were already beyond my ability to interfere now. I pray you good fortune, Demon King of Salvation, because you too also need to collect just one more word from now on. Accompanied by a brilliant flash of light, Asmodeus's body disappeared from the spot, and the only things I had with me were those modifier words that it left behind. Do of lust and wrath. God damn in it, why did it have to be Vil? I underestimated Asmodeus, did I? I turned my head around to find Anna Croft glaring daggers at me. What about the promise with M? SHH. I reflexively placed my finger on my lips. Something felt off. Up until only a few seconds ago, the whole forest was awash with the chaotic screaming, but it was just too DMN quiet now. As if all life forms had been killed off within the area. Just as all the leaves and blades of grass in our surroundings stood up, so did the hair on my skin. I almost instinctively shouted out. Activate precognition now. Her eye of the great demon glowed in a bright crimson color. Then, Anna Croft grabbed me and broke into a desperate sprint. After dashing over 100 meters in an instant, she took a quick look behind her. I, too, was staring at the same spectacle as her. Kuaya. The spot we were in only a moment ago was now being enveloped in a gigantic explosion. A purple-colored half-dome reminiscent of a barrier collapsed in on itself in the blink of an eye and destroyed everything trapped within. That was the judgment field, the ability to destroy everything that could only be earned through corruption. Anna Croft spoke in a despairing voice. There's too much noise and I can't see the future. No need to see everything. You just need to read Michael's attack patterns. You still wish to fight him. If we use that let's become Pebbles fable or some such, we can surely escape from. Didn't you see that guy attacking even the stones on the ground just now? The archangel hellbent on killing me was walking out of the crater where purple-colored smoke was rising up. Michael's fable, now triggered by the fruit of good and evil, was controlling his entire being. The corrupted archangel had already lost half of his reasoning. Demon King of Salvation. His powerful voice roused up all the goosebumps on my skin just by hearing it from afar. Yup, he's definitely not sane at the moment. DM it, this is all your fault. Let's go with Plan B. Plan B, you haven't even told me about that yet. I'm trying to come up with it in. I couldn't finish my sentence. Raging storm winds crashing and blew Anna Croft away to a distance, that's why. Right after that, I saw Michael's large, hulking frame rush towards me in a frightening turn of speed. Demon King transformation has been activated. Along with cracking noises, my body began changing. A pair of jet-black wings and the horns of a Demon King rose up from my back and my head. Thanks to the probability of the second generation, my own status had been strengthened further as well. Of course, it'd still be a dog's death trying to fight him with only this much status, though. Attribute Scenario Interpreter has been activated. However, it wasn't me who would be facing off against this guy. Great Fable, Demon World Spring, has begun its storytelling. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, has begun its storytelling. Indeed, it would be the fables that I had earned so far. Quaboom! The Demon World Spring loaded up on my left hand, collided with Michael's own left fist. Almost at the same time, the holy flames of the torch burning on unbreakable faith, aimed for the corrupted archangel's body. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, is crying out in enjoyment. Michael was instantly shocked by what happened and quickly retreated while contorting his body. The power of the Great Fables was truly amazing. To think, they were able to face off against that frightening monster, even if he had been restricted currently by the shackles of the probability of the second generation. Indeed, it was not a waste of time to train under Yu Hosiang earlier. Fable, Evil that Destroys Evil, has begun its storytelling. Great Fable, Eden's Demon, has begun its storytelling. Unfortunately, I wasn't the only one who possessed a powerful fable. Kagagugu. The incredible pressure emitted with Michael as its center caused all my fables to gasp out in pain. My status was not quite enough to fight face to face with this archangel, as it turned out. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, is roaring out in vexation. Sorry about that. If only I was a little stronger, you wouldn't have to hold yourself back like this. Soon afterwards, a fearsome strike flew in and I received an incredible, stomach-churning impact. Great Fable, Torch that Swallowed the Myth, is protecting you. Great Fable, Demon World Spring, is protecting you. Fable, King of a Kingless World, is protecting you. Fable, the one who opposes miracles, is protecting you. My fables were dealing with the archangel's attacks in my stead. For a brief moment there, several thoughts brushed past my brain. What if I used Hell of Eternity? What if I activated Lightning Transformation and Way of the Wind simultaneously? ED, Electrification Lightning Transformation. If you're curious, TL says the Raw is literally lightning, human, and transformation. TL, I see that you decided to go with lightning transformation then. Awaken bookmarks and call upon other characters. No matter what I thought of, I just couldn't see a clear way out of this. So, did that mean I only have that method left? But I so wanted to avoid ending up in that pathetic state again. Michael took large strides to come closer as I vomited out a bucket full of blood and backed away. He must have decided to end this right now, as purple-colored aura was oozing out from one of his hands. Soon, a purple-colored half-dome was generated within my surroundings. There it was, the stigma that couldn't be canceled once activated. The judge that punishes all evil, judgment field, was spreading out around me. It looked as if my punishment would be in the form of compression to death. Michael. However, did he know this small fact, that I'd been waiting for him to activate that stigma of his? No, hang on, corrupted angel Lucifer. Demon King, king of corrupted angels, hates that name. Originally, Lucifer was one of the main players that was supposed to lead the great war of saints and demons to its conclusion. No evil in this world can defeat the king of corrupted angels. This evil grew even stronger when confronting other evil, and eventually this monster would swallow up all evil out there. Heck, even a high-ranking demon king within the top 10 positions wouldn't be able to kill this guy, because he'd become the strongest existence in this world while fighting against evil, you see. However, what would happen if his opponent was not evil? All incredible power had a corresponding price to pay. While looking at the judgment field, that was only around 10 or so meters away from me, I reached into my inner pocket. What I pulled out was a single apple, the star relic fruit, that I received from the scribe of heaven just before Gigantomachia went underway. Hey, don't you miss the taste of this thing? Michael's eyes began to quake rather noticeably now. He should be able to recognize this apple, because he too had consumed this fruit once before. When an angel eats a fruit of good and evil, it'd go through Demon King transformation. But if a Demon King eats this fruit, what will happen? I could see the flustered Michael hurriedly extend his hand out. Sorry, but it's too late now. Just before the judgment field crushed my body. Issuing the crunch noise, I took a bite out of the fruit of good and evil. Chapter 367, Archangel Hunting 3. This was a part of an ancient memory. Scribe, for how long am I supposed to repeat this war? A war that doesn't have any victors. The times when he threw that question out, or how many times he asked it, he couldn't recall them. Michael, there's no need to ponder too deeply about this. The Metatron of his memories would always return the exact same smile, for several hundreds of years, or maybe even for thousands of years. Metatron continued to carry that grin from the far side of time that Michael couldn't even remember anymore. Please focus on having the evil in front of your eyes instead. That is your scenario. My scenario. Just how long have I been hunting down the demons? Michael, for a long time now, could no longer remember his birth. The power of fruit of good and evil is going berserk. His memories were always incorrect, incomplete. All he could remember were the final words of the demon kings dying at his hands. How lamentable, oh, the pitiful disciple of Eden. Do you really need to go this far? That was from the master of the 21st demon world. You are now the same as us. Finally, Metatron has gone mad. And that was from the master of the 9th demon world. Which number, Michael, are you? And finally, from the lips of the master of the 4th demon world. Past the faces of the demon kings with names he'd forgotten, he could see the dead archangels, his comrades that fought alongside him. Michael, you must regain yourself, please. This is wrong. An angel and a demon, that's what he was. Faces breaking down like debris scattered away in tens of thousands of puzzle pieces, before gathering back together to create one giant form. Good and evil, in conflict against each other for eternity itself. And Metatron's face, the one who had managed to endure all those years, continued to carry the exact same smile for thousands of years. You need to be careful about one thing. When using this power, you must never. The power of fruit of good and evil is going berserk. All of his memories were swept away in one go. Michael was enveloped in horrifying pain akin to his head being ripped to tiny shreds. Aliyah. All good in the world cried out in sorrow. From the blades of grass to trees, from small insects to every type of good living in creation, fell into a state of sorrow and cried out in grief. You have directed a fatal attack at an opponent on the side of absolute good. Fable, evil that destroys evil, is roaring out in bitter sadness. You have broken the taboo. You have been handed a terrible penalty. A gray-colored angel covered in blood was smiling at Michael. The moment I bit into the fruit of good and evil, the view of the world changed. You have consumed a forbidden, star relic fruit. You are currently a demon king. The power of fruit of good and evil has whispered the secret of the absolute good to you. As the ginormous storm of magical energy raged around me, my ears were inundated by the continuous stream of messages. You have experienced all facets of good and evil. You have achieved an impossible accomplishment. You have acquired the possibility of a brand new fable. Starstream is stunned by your accomplishment. Starstream is pondering what your second modifier should be. I felt the sensations of being a constellation, the one I couldn't feel for a long time after becoming a Demon King, once more. Demon King transformation has been cancelled. Starstream has completely restored your constellation. I saw a beautifully sparkling star high up within the pitch-black sky above. That was my star. Angel transformation is activating. My body began to glow brightly after receiving the starlight. The feathered wings dyed in black morphed into pure white ones, and the demon's horns growing on top of my head withered away. Warm, pure energy filled up the entirety of my incarnation body. Unfortunately, I wasn't permitted enough time to relaxedly enjoy the status of an angel. The judgment field had shrunk down around me and had begun crushing my body. Quadujujuduk. My new wings were crushed and folded as I felt this horrifying pain. My arms and legs, that couldn't endure against the pressure of the compacting space, got crushed helplessly. Great Fable, torch that swallowed the myth, is protecting you. Great Fable, Demon World Spring, is protecting you. I was able to barely hold on against that enormous pressure, powerful enough to almost crush me in an instant, with the aid of my great fables. The fourth wall is protecting your mental state. Probability of second generation is weakening the ability of the fourth wall. It felt like several bolts of lightning were going off in my head. I thought that I'd black out at any given moment, and my vision darkened before reverting back a few times, too. However, I endured. I simply had to, so that I could grasp that one and only chance soon to be coming my way. As the price for being strong against evil, the king of corrupted angels possesses one weakness. The power of the judgment field, crushing and wringing my body, was gradually weakening. The only weakness of this frightening monster, capable of destroying all absolute evil, was the king of corrupted angels cannot attack an opponent leaning towards the good spectrum. If he broke this rule and attacked good, then Krayak. The absolute stigma judgment field, capable of crushing a demon king to death, began splintering into pieces. Like a moth escaping from its cocoon, I destroyed this barrier and spread out my wings. Michael squatted down on the ground and grasped his head with both of his hands while screaming at the top of his lungs. Demon King, king of corrupted angels, is writhing in great pain. This was my only chance. Anna Croft. As soon as my words resounded out in this forest, a blonde woman ran towards the rear of Michael. Her eye was now dyed in that crimson hue. She had seen something through precognition and was now in full sprint while unleashing all of her status. Meanwhile, I gathered my remaining strength into my 2 legs and dashed forward as if I was falling over. Now, normally, Killing Michael with only this much combined firepower was impossible, even if he had been rendered defenseless like right now. However, the story would be different while we were on this island. Character Anna Croft has activated Physical Sword Aura LV9. As if we had a prior agreement, she unleashed several strands of powerful energy from the tip of her short sword like clockwork. I unsheathed Unbreakable Faith with my tattered right arm. Fragment of a Fable, right arm of a pitiful sword master, has activated. I had no clue that a fable acquired through the special attribute of Lamarck's giraffe once upon a time would come in handy like this. E.d. Lamarck's Kirin Lamarck's giraffe, TIL this is a real thing. Probability of second generation has reinforced your aptitude. The explosive magical energy of Purist Sword Force, extended by over 10+ meters from the tip of Unbreakable Faith. TL, White Pure Star Energy, Purist Sword Force. I managed to barely hold the sword level as it sunk about halfway into the left side of Michael's neck. Almost at the same time, Anna Croft's short sword sliced into the right of his neck. A fountain of blood shot up into the air, and Michael's severed head flew up. You have killed the 176th incarnation body of King of the Corrupted Angels. You have acquired a myth-grade fable. Starstream is stunned by your accomplishment. You have brought the fake revelation to reality. You have achieved an unbelievable accomplishment. You have acquired an ungradable fable. You have acquired the fable, Architect of Revelation. As the stream of messages cascaded down, my barely maintained consciousness finally let go and scattered away. When I reopened my eyes, I found myself all alone within a white space. A single sentence was floating up in the empty air. The being who consumed the fruit of good and evil will face the truth he had been avoiding. Where am I? Before I had a chance to ask that, images suddenly popped up on the left-hand side wall. Those were scenes from Ways of Survival. It depicted Yu Jung-hyuk and his companions clearing out various scenarios. That was the world of Ways of Survival, where I didn't exist. The companions who didn't buckle under all sorts of hardships and continued to defeat their enemies existed there. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. That story was your life, wasn't it? I nodded my head. Indeed, that story was my life. I grew up while reading those events. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. However, this is also definitely your life too. The right-hand side wall rippled and a new screen appeared there. It now showed a boy, around 15 years old. He was looking at a computer monitor while inputting something with the keyboard. What will happen to Jung-hyuk next? Is he going to die again? This was back when Yu Jung-hyuk was going through his 164th turn. I was in the 3rd year of middle school and in love with Yi Jai-hai back then, and I was busy typing a comment. TL, Li Jihai Yi Jai-hai. Arg, really? I'd like to stop chomping on the sweet potatoes now, please. TL, sweet potatoes equals Korean slang for being frustrated, stifled. And then, when Yu Jung-hyuk was going through his 488th turn, I was in the 2nd year of high school, around the same age as Kim Nam-woon. Again, I was typing a comment within the screen. As Yu Jung-hyuk went through more and more regressions, I too grew older and older. While reading about his deaths, my beard began sprouting. I graduated from high school while spectating on his sacrifices. And again, as I read his story, wouldn't it be fine for him to just die during this turn instead? Wait, did I ever write a comment like that before? The story is going down the drain, so maybe it's time to go back. Kog Henus. Now it was Yu Jung-hyuk's 662nd turn. I was a university student by then, still typing away on a keyboard. Jung-hyuk is going to die again, yes. The words I committed to record were in full display here. All those words that I spat out under the excuse of being hurt by life and exhausted by living itself, they were coming back inside my brain. Please, can you skip the earlier scenarios? It's getting repetitive. I couldn't say anything, not anymore. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. That is the total worth of the story you told as if it was your entire life. The tips of my fingers began trembling. On the left wall, Yu Jung-hyuk and his battles, and on the right wall there was me, staring at Yu Jung-hyuk. And right in the middle wall, the scenes of me glaring at the stars in the sky played out. Enjoy the show while you can. The fee for your entertainment shall become your lives in the end. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. Do you really have the qualification to tell black? My own words continued to float up above the screen. Yu Jung-hyuk, I know the future you don't know. Hey Jung-hyuk, we can save this world. You know this, right? I'll finish your story in your stead. My voice, sounding so brazen and with not a speck of hesitation in it. Fruit of good and evil speaks to you. You, who have deceived the entire world by relying on the story only you know and lived until now. Do you possess the right to be saved? From some place deep in my chest, I thought I heard something break. The whole world seemed to be shaking in my eyes. The fourth wall is glaring at the fruit of good and evil. Fruit of good and evil is startled and is shrinking back. TCA. A storm of probability swept up my surroundings. As I stumbled and faltered about, someone's voice cried out to me. Dakya SSI, you need to move now, Michael is still. After I opened my eyes again, I found myself leaning against a cavern wall. I was going to abandon you if you didn't wake up in the next minute or so. A blonde woman was looking down at me. Bandages were tightly wrapped around my belly and chest areas, and there were some crushed herbs applied to my thigh that had suffered a penetration wound. Warm liquid then flowed into my mouth. It tasted bitter, acrid. I quickly regained my wits, and after discovering the identity of the liquid, nearly got scared out of them again. Because Anna Croft had cut her palm open to feed me her own blood. What the hell are you? She used her other hand to calm me down, and explained herself without a hint of fluster. I possess the attribute Elixir Maker. My blood possesses the same medicinal effects as all the elixirs I've consumed so far. But drinking a lot of this blood will place me under your control. That happens only when your status is lower than mine. She stemmed the blood flow from her palm and turned her head away. It was nighttime already. I couldn't sense any presence or movements. I sucked in several slow but deep breaths and asked her, "What happened to Michael?" "He's dead." "No, I'm not sure whether to call him dead or not." "By any chance, did his incarnation body get enshrouded in a blackish fog?" "How did you know that?" I wish I could explain to her, but this crippling pain assaulting my head prevented me from easily recalling the contents of Ways of Survival. I was pretty sure that Michael wasn't dead. To be more specific, he did die but would revive again. There were 2 moons up in the sky outside the cavern, the symbol of fables from the second generation. I must have drank a fair amount of her blood, because under the pale blue light, Anna Croft's complexion was just as pale and wan. "Why didn't you abandon me and leave?" "I thought that by saving you, I'd earn a fable-like prophet who pays her debt or some such." She probably knew very well that such a fable wouldn't get created so easily. Suddenly, I was overcome with this sense of rejection to this whole idea in my head. The Anna Croft I knew was not like this. The woman I knew was definitely a cold-blooded type of a person who, for the sake of her cause, would not hesitate to sacrifice even her most precious comrade. That was supposed to be the case, but you should be able to move again in a few hours. However, was the information I know of her, everything there was to know about Anna Croft. Anna Croft is an incarnation of absolute good. I couldn't be sure why I was thinking up such things. Maybe it was possible that I began thinking about lots more things after consuming the fruit of good and evil. I spoke as if I was sighing. "We should part ways around here. You must have collected all the words necessary for your modifier target after all." "It doesn't matter to me, but will you be fine?" "Not sure who should be worried about who here. Even if you don't look after me, let me assure you, I won't die. These injuries weren't severe enough to kill me." "No, if you were left alone, you would have been dead." "Not could have died, but dead, straight up. and I knew the precise moments when Anna Croft would say something like that. But you shouldn't have been able to see my future. Until recently, yes, I couldn't. Exclusive skill, Lie Detection LV7, has activated. You have confirmed that the applicable assertion is the truth. Starting from yesterday onwards, I could see little bits of your future. Some things past an indistinct, faint wall. She could see my future. What did you see? Be better if you don't know. Just say it. Anna Croft's eye of the great demon, again, emitted a crimson light. She then spat out a soft sigh before slowly opening her lips. 12 hours from now, you will die at the hands of the conquering king, Yu Jung-hyuk. Chapter 368, Archangel Hunting 4. You are a first-turn regressor. The first time he chose to go back, he thought that he was given a great opportunity, an opportunity to survive the scenarios by possessing more information than everyone else. You are a second-turn regressor. When he chose to go back for the second time, he began thinking that this life wouldn't be as easy as he thought. And after witnessing his comrades die over and over again, after losing the person he loved so much, he finally realized that he was destined to experience the same pain many more times in the future. As the price for possessing more information than anyone else, he had to lose his precious comrades many more times. You are a third-turn regressor. During his third try, he thought that maybe this was a curse. Just how many more lives like this one am I supposed to go through? He realized that, if he were to get to the end of all the scenarios, he needed to kill off his emotions, that he must not live his life. And so, he decided to become not Yu Jung-hyuk, but the regressor instead. The fourth time, fifth. The timelines that he might have had experienced, but a certain someone's unexpected words stopped him from regressing again. Being able to regress at any time is the same as having no meaning in dying anymore. However, there being no meaning in dying is the same thing as the value of living disappearing, too. Yu Jung-hyuk, you need to wake up. What I'm saying here is that, don't mistakenly believe that things will get better by repeating them over and over again. That was why Yu Jung-hyuk chose not to regress. He gave up on several new lives, where he could have started off from a higher vantage point while possessing more useful information than before. You have entered the Middle Island No. 3. Along with the blinding rays of light, he finally arrived on the Middle Island No. 3. Participants who had arrived alongside him looked around and murmured to themselves, "What is this place? Weren't we supposed to head straight to the main island?" Yu Jung-hyuk simply unsheathed his sword. Hidden scenario, snatching modifiers has begun. And then the slaughter began in earnest. The rampaging storm of crimson-colored sword light sliced the heads of the constellations off. There was not one shred of hesitation in Yu Jung-hyuk's blade. He carved out the hearts of the incarnations and smashed apart the backs of the escaping constellations' heads. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, crow of the gloomy sea at night. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, beachfront tactician. There were a few supposedly tough enemies here, enemies that would have been difficult to fight against were he in the original third turn of regression. However, Yu Jung-hyuk was able to defeat them rather easily. The weakness of Birch Tree Scorpion is located below its tail. You must attack the sovereign of the crescent moon, repeatedly, until the starlight on his head fades away. The Yu Jung-hyuk of the original storyline wouldn't have known that information. Indeed, he'd only get his hands on them after going through the 4th, 5th, 100th, even 1000th regressions. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, Birch Tree Scorpion. You have acquired a syllable from the modifier of constellation, Sovereign of the Crescent Moon. The Yu Jung-hyuk of the third turn knew all those information of the future. He hadn't yet lived already. Han Soo-yong, records of the 1863rd turn, first. Han Soo-yong, records of the 1863rd turn, last. It was all thanks to the records from the 1863rd turn in the distant future that he might have gotten to experience if he lived as the story originally intended for him. Fu. Less than an hour later, Yu Jung-hyuk's surrounding vicinity had become deathly still. Stayub. He ended the life of the last remaining constellation and continued to move on. It wasn't just to quickly end this scenario, though. After walking for a bit, he came across a battlefield soaked in blood. Fertile forest. He was greeted by the countless corpses of the incarnation bodies. This spectacle of slaughter seemed to be the handiwork of a certain someone. While gathering the necessary modifier syllables, Yu Jung-hyuk chased after the direction of the slaughterer. It didn't take him too long to discover a giant cocoon seemingly painted entirely in a black hue. He knew right away what this thing was. A monster created by Eden, is it? It was none other than Michael's cocoon. It only appeared after the Archangel was killed off by someone while he was in the middle of Demon King transformation. Fairly soon, he'd gain a new life and emerge from this shell. Just like how, after death, Yu Jung-hyuk would get to start his next turn. If there was one difference, then it'd be with Michael losing a portion of his memories whenever he came back to life. The so-called evil created to eliminate evil. The existence of Michael was the reason why Yu Jung-hyuk could never be friendly with Eden. As the drizzling rain pelted down, Yu Jung-hyuk searched the vicinity of the cocoon. Michael ended up in this state because someone managed to defeat him. Not too long afterwards, Yu Jung-hyuk discovered the fragments of fables belonging to a rather powerful demon king. Someone did fight Michael here and was gravely injured, it seemed. The traces of these fables glowed in brilliant white rays even within the faint, blurry fog of rainwater. They belonged to a being Yu Jung-hyuk was quite familiar with. Shudder. That was around when Michael's cocoon began to quake noticeably. It emitted this gloomy, damp aura as its top began opening up. Yu Jung-hyuk frowned deeply. Already, dark emotions quickly permeated within the purple-colored fog. Michael's nude figure, reformed into a brand-new incarnation body, slowly revealed itself inside the cocoon. Yu Jung-hyuk got ready to escape from here. Demon King of Salvation. Indeed, he'd have left this place were it not for those words. Yu Jung-hyuk hesitated for a little bit before approaching the half-open cocoon. Michael, still not fully alive yet, lay in a defenseless sleep inside the shell. Flash. Michael's eyelids moved and shot wide open, and just as they did, so did Yu Jung-hyuk's blade. You sleeping for a little while longer will be better for everyone. Stayub. His version of purest sword force penetrated straight into Michael's heart. The still weak incarnation body that hadn't activated either the Demon King transformation or Angel transformation began to crumble away from the probability of second generation. Guea. You have killed the 177th incarnation body of King of the Corrupted Angels. Michael's cocoon rapidly shrunk down in size and reverted back to its original status. He'd be reborn in the 178th incarnation body then. Nebula Eden is displaying animosity towards your actions. Constellation Scribe of Heaven is glaring at you. Yu Jung-hyuk faced off against the gaze falling from the sky and spoke. I've told you this before, haven't I? I shall be the one to kill Kim Dok-ya. Stop your unnecessary actions. The sky didn't say anything else in return. Yu Jung-hyuk sheathed his sword, and his steps hurried after the trail of fragments scattered around the forest. After he disappeared into the forest's path, a small shadow revealed itself next to Michael's cocoon. Bob-cut hair gently shook around below the black raincoat's hoodie. The master of the shadow grinned brightly after discovering all the items discarded in the vicinity. Yup, a bus of the main character is the best one out there. Han Soo-young hurriedly shoved the items inside her pocket while giggling happily to herself. In any case, that regressor guy just doesn't understand the value of items. Constellation, Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, is wordlessly staring at the fragments of the fables scattered on the ground. What are you looking at? Han Soo-young picked up the fragments the Black Flame Dragon was pointing at. And then, her expression hardened in an instant. You have acquired the fragment of fable, king of a kingless world. Isn't this? Starstream was blessed with countless types of fables, but she knew of only one person that possessed a fable with such a name. She abandoned the items she'd been picking up and quickly ran in the direction where Yu Jung-hyuk had disappeared to. I'd die at Yu Jung-hyuk's hands. Dakyo SSI. 3 hours from now, Yu Jung-hyuk would kill me. Dakyo SSI. I quickly raised my head and made my reply. Yes, you sang SSI. How long will you stay dazed like this? It's not like you, Dakyo SSI. I'm not dazed. I'm actually thinking about some things. Such as on how to convince him. Honestly, I didn't feel confident about doing that. The Yu Jung-hyuk showing up here to kill me wasn't the same Yu Jung-hyuk from the Ways of Survival that I read for over 10+ years of my life. The one coming to see me now was the Yu Jung-hyuk who realized that he was just a character of a story, just like Yu Jung-hyuk from the 1863rd turn. Is it because of your guilt? Sometimes it felt as if Yu Sang-ah could openly read my mind. And right now, she might have really done that too. No, it is. It's something that I must do. The power of fruit of good and evil is worsening your guilty conscience. It was possible that this feeling had been forcibly triggered by the fruit of good and evil, meaning it might not be mine at all. However, I still believed that this was the path I must take. Anna Croft, supporting me during our journey, addressed me. We should arrive at the center of the island soon. I nodded my head as a reply. The center of the island, the location of the portal to transfer you to the next scenario, plus where I'd meet Yu Jung-hyuk in 3 hours' time. I don't wish to interfere with the future you have chosen yourself, but the outcome of my precognition doesn't change all that easily. Are you trying to jinx me? I'm just trying to be honest with you. If you don't wish to die, it'll be better for you to locate the syllable vil soon and get to the next scenario. I'm deliberately choosing not to go. There is a story that I must tell that guy. The story that I'd been delaying all along, something that I definitely had to discuss with him. A story, is it? Does the conquering king really know how to listen to stories? If he doesn't, then I better make him. Anna Croft remained silent for a little while. She must have been thinking of something, as her eyes were looking up at the blackish-blue night sky above. Several constellations were looking down at us from up there. I'm sure that you know this already, but well, you can't convince every single person. She was a prophet. She probably experienced a similar situation as mine many times before. After all, she reached this place by lying to Selena Kim and deceiving Iris, didn't she? I think that we should say such things only after we try everything in our power first. A person must bear the burden as weighty as the future she sees, you know. The center of the island could be seen in the distance now, and the giant portal leading to the next scenario was there. Anna Croft withdrew her supporting hands from me and spoke. Well then, this is as far as we go. She had gathered all the modifier syllables and was qualified to step through that doorway now. Soon, she would continue to stride forward towards the destination she sought after. Just as I turned around away from her, she called out to me, Kim Dak-ya. Not as the constellation Demon King of Salvation, but as Kim Dak-ya. She was calling out to me. My aim is to change the master of this star stream. Right away, I was beset with this uncomfortable feeling, because I could tell what she was planning to say next. What is your goal then? I knew it. Do I really need to answer you? I feel that only after hearing your answer will I get to finally decide whether to let you live or not. She had placed me on a scale, basically, whether I'd be a help in her pursuit towards her goal or become a hindrance instead. If she thought that I'd become the latter, then she'd not hesitate to make me disqualified here. I quietly stared deeply into her eyes. Would it be fine to tell her what I truly want in this world? Since she was a prophet, would she be able to understand me? Unfortunately, even before I could fully open my mouth, someone else's voice interrupted me. His goal is to see the end of a certain insignificant story. Icy cold rage thickly permeated that voice, and I knew that voice better than anyone. Chapter 369, A Story That Can't Be Shared 1. Anna Croft's expression hardened instantly, and she sneakily pulled out her short sword behind her back. Conquering King. Completely disregarding her, Yu Jung-hyuk spoke while taking large strides to approach us. You two seem to be getting along nicely. Do you feel a sense of camaraderie from the fact that you both know about the future? But you also know the information about the future, don't you? What I've experienced isn't the future. Kagagugu. It's simply the things that had happened. It's the past. Things that had happened, he said. Yu Jung-hyuk had to live through the story that I read while welcoming thousands of deaths in the process. As if to respond to all those years he had spent, the dark heavenly demon sword, held in his hand, began to cry out viciously. Anna Croft snuck a glance in my direction. I replied to her, "You should go. This guy came to see me, not you. I pray that I'll get to hear your end goal through your own words next time we meet." Leaving behind those words, she vanished through the portal without a trace. For sure, she had no reason to stay behind. She had paid her debt more than enough by assisting me this far, after all. Yu Jung-hyuk didn't try to stop her from leaving. If it was any other times, he'd doggedly pursue her and cut her head off, but not today. "Yu Jung-hyuk," I called out to him. But he didn't look at me. No, he simply stared at the empty, open mouth of the portal. So I called out to him one more time. "Please, at least listen to what I have to say. You used to call me your comrade once upon a time, didn't you?" He shifted his gaze towards me and slowly unsheathed his sword. That was in the past. The icy cold rage permeating within his voice wasn't something that I could readily unpack. Unique skill, the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, has been activated. And so I took yet another step into the curse of omniscience. Your degree of understanding on the applicable individual is lacking. Unfortunately, Yu Jung-hyuk's inner thoughts didn't permit my spying attempt, as if to assert that the person in front of my eyes was no longer the same guy that I knew all this time. "I can already guess what you want to talk to me about. It's probably about that book of yours. Through that book, you peeked into my life and used me as your entertainment. Is there anything else I should know?" I couldn't mouth any excuses, because those were all truths. What I did was no different from what other constellations had been doing. I knew that, I definitely did, but was the sense of betrayal everything he felt? Your degree of understanding on the applicable individual is increasing gradually, bit by bit. Yu Jung-hyuk was waiting for me, as if he was the judge searching for that yet undiscovered opportunity to frame me even further. Too bad I had no idea what to say here. His emotions flooded into my head and filled it up to full in no time through the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. All the texts that I knew were steadily being overwritten by the words completely foreign to me. The words that I should be saying, words that I wanted to say, they were all being buried under the blackened waves of emotions crashing in. And then his sword moved. Even at that moment, it still didn't feel real to me. Indeed, it felt far too surreal that he'd forget about all those times we survived together and try to kill me right here. Fruit of good and evil is influencing your emotions. The fourth wall is shaking around violently. The moment I saw the blade flying in right in front of my nose, a guilty conscience, as well as a sense of unfairness, welled up in my heart. Fruit of good and evil is dragging out your dark emotions to the fore. I did my best in my own way. After these scenarios got underway, I really tried my best. In my own way, I did my best to put what I read to practice. I never once thought about hurting Yu Jung-hyuk or any of my companions. All I ever thought about was these scenarios. What should I do to minimize the harm? What should I do so that we could safely reach the true end of everything? That was all I did, nothing more, yet. Just what made things to go so wrong like this? Clang! Along with the explosive grinding noise, Blue sparks danced in the air. "Why are you standing around dazed like that, you dumbass?" Han Suyong was standing next to me now. It was no coincidence that Han Suyong arrived on the middle island No. 3. While progressing through the small island scenario, she had a certain dream, and it was about a man wearing a white coat dying at the hands of another man wearing a black coat. It was the same rubbish dream she had already a while ago, so she even muttered to herself, "It's that stupid dream again," while dreaming it. Because a dream would remain just that, a dream, and would never come to reality. Just like a novel could never become reality, that was. Looks like the me of the third turn is a bit of a moron, isn't she? I showed her the same image several times already, yet she doesn't seem to get it. What the heck was that? Han Soo-young in the dream nearly jumped up in fright and shifted her gaze towards the voice. A woman wearing a black coat was standing there. This mysterious person possessed a similar physique to her, and as if someone deliberately erased her face, there were no distinguishing features at all. That blank face continued to speak. "Looks like this regression will end up as a failure if this keeps up, huh?" Han Soo-young felt this instinctive fear and took a couple of steps back. Unfortunately, she was still inside her own dream, and no person alive could run away from their dreams. You see me, I like throwing a wrench in someone else's schemes. The moment this woman of the dream extended her hand, strange, unexplainable information flooded into Han Soo-young's head. Ability of predictive plagiarism is being awoken inside you. And that was how Han Soo-young woke up from her sleep. Unknown information swam inside her head, and her consciousness moved on its own volition to sort through her newfound knowledge base. A short while later, this one sentence formed in her head. Yu Jung-hyuk will head towards the middle island No. 3. She had no clue why such a sentence popped up in her mind. Even then, she decided to heed it. She didn't know what that unidentifiable dream was all about, or who that faceless woman within it was, but regardless, the thought of, "I must do so," rang clearly in her head. And that was how she reached this very location, this very moment. "Get out of my way, I have no business with you." Yu Jung-hyuk was glaring at her with a pair of frightening eyes. Meanwhile, Kim Dak-ya was staring at her with a dazed expression on his face. Han Soo-young slowly sucked in her breath. She still didn't know what the dream was trying to show her. However, at least right in this moment, she knew what her role was. Han Soo-young chuckled in her usual slimy manner and spoke up. "I knew that you'd cause a problem sooner or later. There's no way the Yu Jung-hyuk I know would change like that. If you don't move out the way, then I." "What, you want to kill me too? And what would you gain by doing that? Is this the compensation for all those times you've been deceived?" Yu Jung-hyuk didn't reply. Instead, his sword skill seemed to be forgotten for a moment there. His blade sliced down from the air, and Han Soo-young defended against the attack with a smirk. "You and Kim Dak-ya are exactly the same when it comes to not listening to other people, you know." Constellation, Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, is roaring out in rage. The power of black flames, permeating within her entire figure, clashed against his sword swing. The weight behind Yu Jung-hyuk's sword strike after being boosted by the second generation's power was quite heavy. She bit her lip hard enough to draw blood as she unleashed all of her strength. He was indeed strong. However, it wasn't as if she was fooling around doing nothing up until now. Fabled disciple of the legendary swordmaster, is shining brightly. That was the fable she barely managed to earn by scraping and clawing her way through the scenario before coming here. The strength of a swordmaster swirled around her figure and explosively rose up within her. Su-ja-ja-ja-ja. In other places, it may not work, but if it was this place then. When a person is saying something to you, the strengthened black flame rushed towards Yu Jung-hyuk through the gaps of the dancing dark blue sparks. "You should listen." The barrage of the strengthened flames rained down in sync with her words. Yu Jung-hyuk's eyes shook around, hard, at the unexpectedly robust resistance put up by her. She didn't miss that opening and loudly yelled out. All Kim Dak-ya did was read a novel, A stupidly long and boring novel. Seeing Yu Jung-hyuk get pushed back bit by bit, she thought that she could pull this off. This was not a tough dilemma to solve. This misunderstanding only came about because of people's words. That was why she believed that more words could resolve it once and for all. So just talk to him, will ya? Speak to each other without holding back, just like how everyone else does. The flames of black flame remained persistent and stuck on to Yu Jung-hyuk's blade. He coldly spoke as he shook off the darkish flames. You don't know anything. No, I know already, growled Han Soo-young, after hearing his words that cold-heartedly excluded her. What are you so pissed off about? About Kim Dok-ya approaching you while knowing everything about you. But aren't you the same? Just like him, you acquired info for yourself and have deceived everyone else until now, haven't you? Perhaps those words became the seed, because rage began filling up Yu Jung-hyuk's eyes next. Their swords clashed in the air once more. Of course, I know that you were being sincere. I know that you did those things to save people, to reach an even better world. But what about Kim Dok-ya then? Tell me just which idiot would throw his life away because a character from a story is about to die. She saw Yu Jung-hyuk's blade freeze up for a moment there and continued to pour out her words. Did you forget what Kim Dok-ya has done until now? Just because he read that boring-ass novel a bit, you wish to pretend everything we experienced during your third regression didn't happen. Yu Jung-hyuk's status was shrinking back now. Han Soo-young could feel it that she was almost there. Just one more push, and this unnecessary fight would come to an end. Calm down and think rationally about this. Unfortunately, Han Soo-young took a wrong step at the final hurdle. You are not that kind of a character. A character, is it? Yu Jung-hyuk's expression was changing back. He wasn't asking a question just now. She belatedly realized her mistake, but it was far too late to take back what she said by then. You're the same as him. Enormous waves of magical energy spread out from the contact point of the two locked blades. Han Soo-young's sword issued a cry of pain. The force behind black flames was now being pushed back one-sidedly. Fabled torch that swallowed the myth is roaring out. The great fable Yu Jung-hyuk had acquired was now going on a rampage. I saw what you did during the 1863rd regression. 1863rd regression, what the hell are you? It was at that moment a certain something popped up in Han Soo-young's mind. In the 1863rd world line of ways of survival. Ah, right. You were there too. I couldn't tell which one of you was the real body though. For sure, Kim Dok-ya said something like that in the past. Can it be? Information in her head began consolidating. Apparently, she existed within the 1863rd turn, and in that place, she was living in a different regression. In that case, the person she saw in her dream was. Just as Han Soo-young reached her answer, a momentary opening was created. Yu Jung-hyuk's blade didn't miss that chance. Why couldn't I move? How come I didn't fight alongside Han Soo-young? While watching her speak for my stead, why couldn't I voice my own thoughts with her? You suck at telling your own story, that's why. I pulled the fallen Han Soo-young in as she looked up at me. Blood flowed out like a river from her waist. It was so vividly red that it all came across as far too unreal to my eyes. She was bleeding, yet she was still talking to me. Kim Dok-ya, I know the end you've been wishing for. She formed a smile as playful as ever. As if to wipe the blood on my cheek, she rubbed my face while murmuring back to me, "What a pitiful guy you are." I frantically tried to stem her bleeding while pulling out my recovery items. Her internal injuries were too severe. She had been wounded far too mercilessly. Her innards were completely destroyed by the second-generation sword force. I could save her. If only I had a little more time, if I could just find a proper healer and get her healed then. But would I be allowed to do that? Her hand touching my cheek fell away lifelessly. I called out Han Soo-young's name over and over again. However, she didn't wake up. What I heard was Yu Jung-hyuk's voice instead. Stand up, Kim Dok-ya. I couldn't sense any guilt, no shaken emotions within that voice. It was at that moment something inside me snapped. I slowly stood up from my spot. Yu Jung-hyuk. Fables were boiling over inside my head. There are some fables that are simply too big and are difficult to read properly. If your mind isn't centered right, you will end up getting swept away by the fable instead. Yu Hosiang told me that. I was aware of the dangers as well. The greater the fable, the larger the burden I had to carry. That was why I sought to make comrades, and we worked together to create history, to create our own fables, all for the sake of reaching a different conclusion than that of Yu Jung-hyuk's from the original storyline. That wish was what brought us this far. And the end result of that wish was this. Did I need to keep reading this story then? Great fable, Demon World Spring, has begun its storytelling. I've imagined the final goal where every one of us would be there together. I truly believed that such a story was definitely achievable. Great fable, Torch that swallowed the myth, has begun its storytelling. However, if that was impossible then, if all the histories that I've created so far were completely useless then, Demon King transformation has been activated. Then, the end I've been dreaming about no longer held any meaning. I Shall Kill You, Yu Jung-hyuk. Chapter 370, A Story That Can't Be Shared Too. I Shall Kill You, Yu Jung-hyuk. Everyone within the library was looking at that text. Looks like all of us might end up perishing at this rate. The fourth wall is vibrating intensely. The entirety of the library was shaking around. The books that had been neatly arranged tumbled down and created a mess. However, no librarian tried to clean it up. How frustrating. Why aren't they communicating with each other? As I thought, these two lack enough desire to become one being. Soo-young didn't do anything wrong yet. The squid used one of its tentacles to lightly poke the round eye. Meanwhile, the text continued on. Every time Yu Jung-hyuk's and Kim Dokya's blades clashed against each other, Nirvana's teeth issued clattering noises. Oi newbie, what do you think? When Yu Sang-ah heard that, she stopped catching the books flying over her head and looked back at the librarians. Her hand was full of Kim Dokya's memories, the book she'd been reading up until just now. I have two opinions about it. You have two of them. One, Miss Soo-young isn't dead. I know her very well and she's not someone to risk her life for a problem like this one. The squid's tearful eyes opened much wider from her reply. What, but you also read it, didn't you? Looks like you still don't know how it works. The heroine loses her consciousness, her hand falling away, and the male hero awakens. You see, in all the movies I've seen so far. Not minding what the squid or the simulation were saying, Yu Sang-ah composedly carried on. 2. They are currently talking to each other. Yu Sang-ah spoke as she stared at the texts that continued to pile up. Even though no one in this world would call that a conversation, but still. Fragments of fables poured out from the cracked arm. They were fables that we had created together. Fable Demon World Spring is pouring out its story. Fable Torch that swallowed the myth is growling threateningly. Like a dragon and tiger getting into a tussle, fables collided with other fables. Yu Jung-hyuk, possessing the exact same great fables as I, used the exact same power to fight me. Your share on the applicable fable is higher than your opponent. Even though my share on the fables was supposedly higher, the shares held by Yu Jung-hyuk didn't listen to my commands. Maybe that was due to all those years Yu Jung-hyuk had gone through already. He had been telling his story far more fiercely than anyone else in Star Stream, after all. The probability of the second generation was suppressing us. However, some things still managed to escape its suppression. Fable, the one who opposes the miracle, is thunderously roaring out. Fable, the one who opposes the miracle, is bellowing out in anger. The exact same fables created, by experiencing the same history, collided against each other. Master of the Island is paying close attention to you. Many constellations are watching your battle. Constellation, demon-like judge of flames, is. The voices of the constellations were getting fainter and fainter now. Unique skill, The fourth wall is activating. We both swung our swords, fully prepared to kill each other in the process. The blade that I desperately swung brushed past Yu Jung-hyuk's waist, and his own blade attacking right back, stabbed into my shoulder. His combat intuition was higher, but my status was much higher than his. Great Fable, Demon World Spring is protecting you. The Transcender's sharp aura pierced past the thick layer of status and flew straight in. From that sword energy, I was able to read his true intention. I saw how desperately he was standing his ground right now. He didn't bother to ask, and I didn't bother to reply. No, we just swung our swords again and again, and instead of our mouths, our fables told the tales for us. Fable, Paradise of Despair, is pouncing like a wild beast. The memories from the paradise. Fable, the one who hunted the king of calamity, is roaring out. Traces from the Peaceland. Fable, liberator of the industrial complex, is in mourning. The moments from the revolution. None of those existed within the pages of the ways of survival. The times we've lived through didn't match up with any of the pages I read in the past. Angel transformation is activating. Wings broke past my shoulder blades. My status instantly increased and permeated into unbreakable faith. Issuing a loud, explosive noise, Yu Jung-hyuk's body flew up in the air after being unable to withstand the impact force. Come at me with everything you've got, Yu Jung-hyuk, because I'll do the same too. The light in his eyes changed. The outline of his status rising up around him began distorting visibly. It was powerful enough to twist the space itself. The true power of the high-level transcender was being unleashed for real now. Yu Jung-hyuk's figure, wrapped in the brilliant golden light, disappeared from my view. Second stage of the Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint is still in activation. His blade moved so fast that my eyes couldn't even follow it. Clang! One sword against another. The louder the grinding metallic noises became, the heavier my wrist got. Fables poured out from my thigh, and fables flowed out from Yu Jung-hyuk's shoulders. And naturally, his voice could also be heard. The fourth wall is activating strongly as if to fight back. Yu Jung-hyuk had begun telling his story now. You. I tried to guess which words would follow that. Without a doubt, he'd blame me. Just as Han Soo-young had said, you were that kind of a person after all. Why did you choose to remain in that particular turn? Memories of the 1863rd regression brushed past my head. I won't return to the third turn. I'll remain here and see this thing to its end with the people of this place. The decision I made was coming back to me in full. The unbreakable faith was now issuing cracking, breaking noises. Back then, that was the best choice available. I thought that, after witnessing the end of the 1863rd turn, I would be able to return to the third turn safely. That was why I tried to find the story where everyone could be happy. However, what if Yu Jung-hyuk of the 1863rd turn didn't help me out back then? What if Han Soo-young of the 1863rd turn carried murderous intentions towards me? Would I have been able to return to this world unscathed? Even though I thought that I knew the scenarios better than anyone, could it be that I just got lucky and managed to survive until now? Your comrades are here. Yu Jung-hyuk's first sword sliced apart my shoulder, and your own world line was here. His second strike split open my elbow. You told people to live their lives in this world. The third strike punctured a hole in my wing. It hurt like hell. But what hurt even more than that, though, was the rage and disappointment contained within Yu Jung-hyuk's voice. Incarnation, Yu Jung-hyuk is refusing to regress. Yu Jung-hyuk, who gave up on the path of regression and decided to live out his third turn because of me, was now looking back. The being who loved this world more than anyone and wanted to protect it because of that was staring straight back at me. But then certain types of rage and some types of betrayal couldn't be described in mere words. No matter how omniscient one was as a reader, one would never be able to read them. Yu Hoseong said as thus: a fable may not look all that amazing at first glance, but it'll present a maze-like abyss to all those who dare to peek deeper into their inner core. It's the same story, regardless of how small a fable is. What I was seeing shouldn't be Yu Jung-hyuk's everything. I'd never get to fully understand the reason why he was so furious like this. Because everything could be his reason, or conversely, nothing could be his reason too. But one thing was for certain, and that would be Yu Jung-hyuk had decided not to be under the thumb of anyone anymore. Not controlled by me, and not controlled by himself, and maybe not even by those DMN constellations who should be watching right us now. Answer me, Kim Dokya. While receiving the outpouring of the sword strikes, I began faltering. Most likely, Yu Jung-hyuk was aware of the truth, that I was still reading him even right now. But even though he knew that I was reading him, he continued to think nonstop. Answer me. Just like how I observed him past this wall, he too was ceaselessly writing something just beyond it, hoping that someone would get to read it sooner or later. Unfortunately, I couldn't reply, because if I do, then the fourth wall is getting thicker. Then you'd end up becoming a mere character of the story. The fourth wall is getting even thicker. Because you definitely couldn't become a mere character. Kugagagugu. Yu Jung-hyuk glared at me with his trademark blazing eyes. Here he was, existing in this place and time, destroying me in order to prove that he wasn't just a mere character of a story. Is that so? His words floated up above the wall. So that is your choice. The fourth wall is getting even thicker. Even during this regression, I didn't have any comrades then. If I were to say something, anything, as a reply, it was possible that he'd have forgiven me. Maybe a miracle might happen and he'd accept me, even. However, even if that happened, Han Soo-young wouldn't return, and the hurt we inflicted on each other would not be erased, either. We would never become comrades ever again. Whether it was Yu Jung-hyuk or me, we both knew that truth all too painfully well. The fourth wall is getting even thicker. And that was why we held our swords as we dashed towards each other. The fourth wall is getting even thicker. The full-on attack collided with another full-on attack and issued a loud explosive noise. Thick, choking dust was kicked up in the air. Neither of us could withstand the impact force and crumbled to the ground. The first one to stand back up was me. I staggered towards Yu Jung-hyuk lying on his back, his entire body now looking like a torn rag, and pointed my blade at him. He didn't offer any resistance, but instead looked up at me to speak. I've persisted with this regression for far too long, so end this. Yu Jung-hyuk murdered Han Soo-young. He had already crossed the line that shouldn't have been crossed. The sword aura of the unbreakable faith trembled noticeably, and the moment I raised my sword up high, I recalled what Han Soo-young of the 1863rd turn told me. If my novel was a ripoff of Ways of Survival, then whose ripoff are you? The answer to that question was right in front of my eyes now. Kim Dokya had learned how to live from this man. This man was my father, my brother, and my oldest friend. The fourth wall has increased its thickness. For a long time, I had been looking at him through this thick, thick wall. I was saved by him many times, and while looking at his story, I managed to survive. The unbreakable faith slowly clattered back on the ground. I couldn't kill this guy, nor could I beg for his forgiveness either. I had never learned to be that cowardly. No, I was taught to pay the price for the things I've done. Yu Jung-hyuk was still looking up at me, and I too stared back at him. I'm right here in this place. I know. Even then, you only chose to read and nothing else. Because that is our way of living. You acted and I read you doing it. If you're unwilling, then I shall do it myself. Yu Jung-hyuk slowly got back up and grasped his blade tightly. I thought I could hear the sound of a story coming to an end. The mass production type maker once told me this, that a certain fable would end without ever getting closer to the black. However, if this place was the endpoint for all the stories, and if I was destined to die right here, then wouldn't it be fine to at least say one thing? Hey, Yu Jung-hyuk. He stopped his actions when I spoke up. You probably know this already, but I'm not a prophet. No, I am as far removed from such a being as you can get. Ever since we got into a tussle back on the Dongho Bridge, I had never introduced myself properly once. To you, Jung-hyuk, I was the prophet, a man with a mysterious background. I'm not the demon king of salvation. Fable Demon King of Salvation has stopped its storytelling. I'm also not the king of a kingless world. Fable King of a Kingless World has stopped its storytelling. One by one, my fables stopped their stories. Excluding my own, everything else became dead still. My name is Kim Dokya. The wings on my back disappeared, and the ballooned-up muscles shrunk back too. 28? No, wait. I was 28 and I was an employee of a game company. My hobby was reading web novels. As if I was talking to someone I met for the first time, I continued to tell my own story. It's pathetic, right? Well, this is who I am. Yu Jung-hyuk, who are you? To me, Yu Jung-hyuk was someone I knew since from a long time ago. To be more specific, he was someone I read about all by myself. That was why I had never heard about his story in his own words. He finally opened his mouth. I am Yu Jung-hyuk. His blade slowly moved and cut me down. Yu Jung-hyuk, a former regressor.